Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 801-820. Chapter 801 Kaido Goes Berserk. Kaido is indeed a tough opponent. It is almost impossible to beat him in a single duel. The terrifying recovery ability is completely impossible. Even Whitebeard Roger's resurrection can do nothing but keep beating him and beating him. Beat him up, but you can't kill him either. If you don't give up, then the only result may be to beat Kaido continuously until he runs out of energy and loses helplessly. X23 US. Com updates fastest. So if you want to kill Kaido, you must limit Kaido's recovery ability, just like if you want to defeat Vlad, you must limit his freedom. Vlad's absolute reaction and Kaido's absolute recovery are extremely buggy capabilities. Vlad realized this very early on. To defeat Kaido, pure strength is definitely not enough. Unless Kaido can be directly smashed to the ground, even if he punches a big hole in his chest, this guy can still recover, but this can't be done. Kaido's strength, haki, and physique are also monsters strong. So we can only work hard from the origin of Kaido. Fortunately, Vegapunk is on Vlad's side. For Kaido is not a poison. It is essentially a gene-enhancing medicine. If normal people inject it, it may still have a strengthening effect, but it is different for Kaido. Hey! Rushed towards Kaido like a phantom. Do you still want to repeat the old trick? Kaido was furious, and of course he couldn't forget the last time he fought. He was stabbed by this guy, then woke up and was sent to Mariajoy. This time is different. Vlad smiled. Boss Kaido, this is something that can kill you. What? Kaido's body stopped abruptly, and his tone was very shaken. What did you say? Doctor, Vegapunk made just for you. Vlad smiled. Something that can really kill you. How about it? Why don't you try it? Quote. Kaido was rarely silent. Little devil. Isn't this the long-cherished wish of your life? Vlad smiled and threw the injection in his hand towards Kaido. Try it. The doctor took a long time to make something like this. Crack. Kaido caught the injection that Vlad threw, and did not directly crush what Vlad said could kill him. Just like what Vlad said, Kaido's dream in the first sequence was suicide, and then it was his turn to destroy the world. All he had been doing all his life was seeking death, and now, this opportunity had been placed in front of him. Crack. After all, Kaido crushed the injection in his hand, and rushed towards Vlad again. Little devil. I don't need you to tell me what I want to do. Even if you want to die, you don't want the gift of others. Tisk. Vlad smacked his lips, his body flickered like a phantom, and he was already close to Kaido's body. When he turned his right hand, another injection appeared in his hand. Back up, of course, there was still some. Go to hell. The response was quite fast, and the fist hit Vlad's chest like a phantom. Really fast. Vlad sighed like this, but Vlad was faster. In the first moment of Kaido's action, Vlad's body had already moved with it. In the second stage of freedom, the body was twisted like a rubber, easily avoiding Kaido's punch. At the same time, the injection in his right hand was already stuck on Kaido's arm. In terms of Vlad's reaction speed, as long as he wanted to attack, no one could escape. Well, Vlad was a little surprised. This injection went quite smoothly and was not resisted. Kaido, this guy. Boom. Kaido punched Vlad in the face with a heavy punch. Vlad didn't dodge, and was directly blasted out by the punch. Call. Slowly heaving a sigh of relief, Vlad flapped his wings, hovered in the sky, shook his head. It's even now, right? Then. The hardest time is next. Ah. The injection took effect quite quickly. Kaido's body began to twist, and his mouth made a huge roar, like the roar of a monster. Let me see. What is the level of the so-called god? The capital of flowers, where the flames burn. Yes, Lord Gorose, 5 elders. Dumbly answered, then hung up the phone. The man named Lucci put the phone bug in his pocket. The order has come down. He turned his head like this and said to Kurozumi Orochi, go ahead. Act according to the plan. Me, what about you? His Excellency the General asked suspiciously. I have to stay. Lucci turned his head and looked at the man in the straw hat across from him. This kid is the guy named by the government to kill. Hey, right, that's up to you. Kurozumi Orochi laughed in a low voice, leading a man in black clothes with a black face scarf directly over the straw hat and towards the front going. It's unlucky enough, Straw Hat. Lucci said, I finally escaped from Marineford, I finally set off to the New World again, and it was about to be destroyed. This time. The Straw Hat had a serious expression and hung it behind his back, I won't lose again. The fiasco 2 years ago has not been forgotten yet. The powerful enemy who could not be defeated no matter what at the time is now standing in front of him again, and he is absolutely unwilling to escape. That's what Straw Hat thinks. The guy who stands in front of him will definitely shoot him away. Shift 4. No prelude, go all out, and you're done. Dash 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 dash. Let's go. Kurozumi Orochi took the man in black, jumped in the flames, and soon came to a building, which was covered with a layer of flames. Go and raise the turret first, then design the timing program, and then you can Kurozumi Orochi turned around abruptly and his long sword stood up. When the azure blue slash pierced through the heavens and the earth, slashing heavily on Kurozumi Orochi's sword. Hey! The feet rubbed backwards on the ground, drawing 2 deep marks on the ground. How? Kurozumi Orochi looked very surprised. In front of the door, Sakata walked out of the open door. Although there was still a hole in his clothes, the wound was completely gone. It was like a joke. The injury actually healed like this. This guy is not an ability person. Kurozumi Orochi knows this very well, and suddenly feels that his 3 views have been subverted. Don't run away. Sakata said so, clenching the 2 swords in his hand. This is yours. The place of burial. Wano-kuni, the final battle is finally in full swing. Chapter 802 Monster. God. Kaido of God. Until now, it is also a very clear memory that has been engraved in my heart. Maybe I will not forget the day when I die, the day I had my own consciousness for the first time. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Kaido remembers very clearly, when he opened his eyes for the first time, the sight he saw was definitely the hardest memory in his life. He didn't understand it at the time. What entered his eyes was a green liquid, and he was immersed in it. In a piece of liquid, through this piece of green liquid, what I saw were a few men in white coats leaning over with extremely expectant smiles on their faces. Then, the clearest memory is, and the memory that is absolutely unwilling to forget is the first thing said by the man in the white coat at the head. He said, Tisk, I thought it had been successful, but it turned out to be the same. A failure. Forget it, deal with it. Although I didn't understand it at all at the time, this was the first sentence I heard since I was born. Vegapunk. Roaring like this, a terrifying aura emanated from Kaido's body, and just a simple roar caused a super strong wind in the sky. The white clouds in the sky were also blown away, and the flower capital below, the flames were also directly blown away. Blown away, the building that was trembling in the flames was directly blown into the sky. Dark lightning flashed in the sky, the air shivered, and a strong sense of oppression spread. In the extreme distance, the earth and rocks on the ground even began to crack directly, and the wreckage of the building that was blown into the sky was directly crushed into pieces. This conqueror, what are you kidding, powerful to this extent? Vlad's eyes widened, the violent wind even made him feel that it was difficult to continue flying above the sky. His body seemed to be bound by an invisible powerful force. It was a terrifying force. Conqueror Haki. The level truly reflects the user's own strength. The stronger his own strength, the greater the strength of the Conqueror Haki displayed. Vlad considers himself to have reached the peak of the human body, but it is still far from reaching such a level. That's what it's called. God. Dash 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 dash. Almost at the same time, far and far, at the junction of the New World and Paradise, on the top of the Red Earth, Mariajoy, the center of world power. Pan-ancient city, the residence of the world government, in the deepest part of the luxurious and huge building, there is a beautiful room with a very huge area, which is planted with beautiful plants from all over the sea. It is hard to imagine that the central area of the world government is still there. There is a room like this. Somewhere in the room, a huge cherry tree stands quietly. Tomorrow is not the season of cherry blossoms, but now, this cherry tree is still blooming enthusiastically. Exudes breathtaking beauty. The breeze that came from nowhere was blowing slowly, and from time to time a piece of cherry blossoms fell from the cherry blossom tree. The cherry blossoms fell slowly, and then fell on the person under the tree. He was dressed in a black robe and had a high crown on his head. He couldn't see his face clearly. He seemed to be leaning against the cherry blossom tree comfortably. His body was motionless, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. It is a very quiet scene, as if it is not a solid but a beautiful oil painting. Then, in the next instant, such a quiet beauty was suddenly broken. Well. Suddenly, the man in black robe sat up, and an invisible aura filled the air, and the surrounding plants shattered instantly. His head suddenly turned and looked somewhere. Who is it? He stood up, very thin. Just need one. Boom. Without the slightest movement, the ceiling above was broken, and the figure of the man in black robe disappeared. That's enough. Dash 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 dash. What the hell is this? On the battlefield below, the originally chaotic situation has ceased, and countless pirates have fallen to the ground, foaming at the mouth, unconscious, from the 100 beast pirates, from the fire dragon fleet, a lively scene has disappeared. What the hell is this? Jin raised his head almost in horror, and the keen senses of the feline let him understand that there was something extremely terrifying in the sky. Is it the boss? This is Conqueror. Similarly, the chef opposite Jin also looked extremely horrified. How is it possible? Conqueror hockey on such a scale. Can a human have it? Even the captain of his own family can never do such a thing. The chef knows very well that even the officers of the 100 beast pirates and the captains of the fire dragon fleet cannot resist such power and lie on the ground. Such a thing just terrifying. The chef suddenly had a strong feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Dash 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 dash. Hey hey hey. Vlad flapped his wings and scratched his head, with a rare guilty conscience in his tone. Did I do something wrong? Hey, Vegapunk. Vlad suddenly shouted, as if he was venting his anger, why don't you make it clear? The so-called mutation, the so-called God-building plan is such a terrible thing. Vlad remembered the guy Vegapunk told him before, when he had not joined the government, and when he was wandering outside, he carried out that crazy plan with a group of equally intelligent ace scientists. Artificial God Project. An artificial creature that combines the advantages of all kinds is created by genetic technology. Beyond human boundaries, God. But unfortunately, the plan failed later, and the experimental body that was the closest to success did not meet their expectations. A huge amount of genes have indeed existed in the body of the experimental body in a strict and orderly manner, but unfortunately, although they exist, they are not. Not all genes are activated. Too many genes and too strict arrangements suppress the growth of many genes. Therefore, what is created is not a God that surpasses human beings, but a person who has reached the peak. Then the experimental organization disintegrated, and the peak people still had overwhelming power, especially when they were about to be executed. The explosion of monsters destroyed the entire experimental organization, and later this experimental body escaped to the sea and named himself for Kaido, Kaido of the Beasts. And now, in order to break Kaido's immortality, Vegapunk has created a special medicine for him. The effect is to break the balance of Kaido, S genes and erase the original recovery ability. However, at the same time, such elimination is also breaking the suppression. The shackles of other complex genes. In this case, the originally silent genes will be exploded. Although such outbreaks are not long-lasting, Kaido will soon dissipate due to genetic collapse, but, before this time. Before that, the God creation plan was a success. Vlad had to face neither monsters, nor humans, but God. Chapter 803 Fight. Reign of Shiryu. The old god Enel was standing on a big rock, with a lazy smile on his face. It's kind of interesting. The battle on the other side has ended, and only Sand Crocodile still has the fighting power on Enel's side. Although he is Shichibukai, his strength is still a long way from Enel. This old boy is quite slick, and he has already seen his allies. After hitting the street, I didn't mean to continue fighting. I just didn't bring it with me. I just turned the ground into sand, and I didn't know where it went. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Then it happened that Enel also heard the movement on this side, so he brought Chimera directly to support. After all, the combined combat power of this side has exceeded the sum of the beast pirates. Damn it. Shiryu frowned. This guy is not an easy opponent to deal with. The awakened Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble fruit, is extremely perverted, and the number of people is really meaningless to him. Hello, Shiryu. Behind him, the man with the big rosacea burped and whispered, "Are you going to fight to the death for the government? It's not worth it." That's right, Shiryu. The ugly middle-aged woman, Katerina Devon grinned. It seems that the government's side is not easy to mess with. The enemy is not ordinary strong. Even in the face of the beast pirates and the marine headquarters' large fleet at the same time, the fire dragon pirates did not lose out. Such combat power is indeed extremely terrifying. Oh. Enel raised his eyebrows with interest. Do you want to run away? It's not that easy. Lei Ying. In the sky, the dense thunderclouds began to twist, and the huge thundercloud sphere was already pressing towards one side. Damn. Shiryu let out a low voice, swung the long sword in his hand, and a dazzling slash roared out and slashed straight towards Enel. Oh. A soft whistle. Enel was directly split in half, of course unscathed. Tisk. Shiryu gritted his teeth. Logia fruits with high-speed displacement capabilities like Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble fruit, Glint Glint fruit are just playing rogues. Even with Haki trying to hit them, it's harder than going to the sky. It's true, it's more difficult than climbing to the sky. After all, Moonstep is not difficult to learn, but it is quite difficult to prevent Enel and Kizaru from opening up the distance. Long-range attacks can't hit, and melee attacks can't bring the distance, which is troublesome. Boom. A huge thundercloud fell from the sky. It's time to run. Shiryu thought so as he kept swinging his sword and unleashing slashes while covering Haki to protect himself. Dash 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 dash. Hoo-hoo. Heavily, Katakori's eyes were extremely firm, and his opponent was indeed a monster-level powerhouse. Even with the help of a few D-series androids, he still couldn't gain the upper hand in this monster's hands. Charlotte Katakori. The opposite side, Vivi bowed his head, and Fujitora, who was holding a knife in his hand, exclaimed, "What a ruthless character with amazing strength." Quote. Katakori didn't speak. There were circles of donuts around him, and the pitch-black rice cake fists had roared out of the donuts and slammed directly towards the opposite side. Drink. A low voice, a purple halo spread out, and the strong gravity spread instantly. Katakori's rice cake fist deviates directly from the original trajectory, and is directly pulled towards the ground. Boom. The earth trembled suddenly, and a powerful force blasted one big hole after another on the ground. Tiger. Katakori like a landslide and tsunami. Quote. Katakori jumped, and the purple tiger roared past him. Even with observation Haki, who had foreseen the future, it was not easy to avoid such an indiscriminate and large-scale AoE. Roar. Before Fujitori's attack was over, 3 huge colorful tigers had already rushed towards him. Their claws had been covered with a layer of pitch-black haki, and lasers were flashing in their mouths. Bew, bew, bew. Fortunately, Katakuri is not fighting alone. Dash 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 dash. This is. The yellow leopard man's eyes were full of horror, and he didn't expect that such a powerful force could burst out just by expanding his body. All my moves have been upgraded again. Just like a jet plane, the Straw Hat's feet shrunk into his legs, stepping on the air one by one. His body rushed forward, and in the blink of an eye, it had already fallen from the sky, and the pitch-black fist had already slammed towards Lucci. Orochi Cannon. The fists bounced around like snakes, and the speed was so fast that people couldn't react at all. Tisk. Lucci's expression is not good-looking, frowning tightly, stepping on the air and jumping in the air, like a butterfly wearing a flower, avoiding the Orochi Cannon that the Straw Hat is constantly tracking. Rankyaku Tempest Kick. There is no need to add extra names, just a simple flick of the foot, and the powerful slash has roared out, as dazzling as a giant blade that can tear the sea. Useless. The Straw Hat didn't dodge, and the other fist blasted out, directly smashing Lucci's Rankyaku Tempest Kick. Cut. Lucci gritted his teeth. Hello, Lucci. At the back, taking off the mask, the man with the long nose smiled. Do you want us to help? It's better to solve it sooner. Other person's body has swelled and turned into a werewolf. After all, this island is about to be bombed into the sky. CP0 is a spy organization. Fighting is never one-on-one like a man, and beating is a matter of course, but it's all said. Green algae head. In the distance, the quarrel of 2 men came over. It's this side. Fuck, I know. Dash 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 dash. When the faint blue slash pierced through the heavens and the earth, and the strength has grown by a considerable amount compared to just now. Cut. A forceful swing of the knife, Sakata's slash was deflected, and Kurozumi Orochi's face was silent. That means, if I don't kill you, it will definitely be impossible, right? That's what it means. Sakata turned his head, but you don't have to worry, because it's all said. Your death is here. Then there is no way. Kurozumi Orochi whispered, I have to go over. Then, I can't fight you with the faith of a samurai. Quote exclamation mark. He said so. Roar. Behind, the man in black robe, Vivi nodded, his body suddenly swelled, and the monster that attacked Sakata before appeared again in front of Sakata. Shadow Warrior. Sakata whispered, mythical. That's right. Kurozumi Orochi nodded. Zone mythical, the fruit. In this case, you can only die. His Excellency the General is very confident. Really, where is this place? Are you deliberately blocking the way of the concubine? In the distance, such a voice came. Sister Huang, calm down, the battlefield of the Fire Dragon Pirates and the Beast Pirates is already here, right? Chapter 804 God's Power. Vegapunk. The huge roar shocked the world, and everything in the world seemed to be shaking. This is definitely not a power that humans can achieve. Vlad was deeply touched. He had already noticed that since his awakening, he had already realized that he had reached a certain limit, and his strength could no longer continue to improve. Physical strength, speed, haki, all aspects seem to be has reached its limit. It's not that the limit of the dragon fruit has been reached, Vlad is very clear, but that his own limit has been reached. The limit of his body can no longer bear the further strengthening of the dragon fruit, nor can he cultivate a more powerful haki. It is the limit of human beings. Vlad speculates secretly that he may have reached the level of Whitebeard Roger back then. There is no progress, the highest level of human beings. This is the limit of human beings. Although he is called a monster, there is no doubt that Vlad is also a human being. Human beings have limits, and Whitebeard can't really destroy the world. Destroying a big island is already the limit. However, now Kaido has surpassed this limit. Vlad felt a sense of oppression in his chest, as if his breathing was a little short, like a goat facing a tiger. This was a sense of oppression from the depths of his genes. At the top of the food chain, the gust of wind stopped abruptly, and an eerie silence filled the air for a moment. Woo! Vlad exhaled slowly. It's finally quiet. The breeze blew gently, and the brand new Kaido had appeared in front of Vlad. The body was no longer as tall as before, and had shrunk to a height of about 2 meters, which was shorter than Vlad's human form. Some of the above are completely different from the previous 10-meter-long monster. The muscles are not prominent, but they look a little thin. There is already a pair of wings stretched out on the back, which looks like an angel. The 2 big horns on the head have also shrunk a lot, and the direction is changed, twisted towards the sky, but it looks like a devil. Vegapunk. The eyes suddenly widened, the whites of the eyes were full of bloodshots, and they looked quite ferocious, and there was a lot of rage in them. Where? Woo. The wind is blowing. Ah. Squinting, Vlad muttered to himself, unconscious. Put. Vegapunk. Just like teleportation, Kaido flapped his wings and appeared behind Vlad in an instant. What? Vlad's eyes suddenly widened. Such a speed is simply sensational, even he is not as good as him. Leave it to me. Drink. Although I was surprised in my heart. That's right, but it doesn't mean that Vlad didn't move, and the freedom has been unfolding, and the moment Kaido came over, he had already reacted, with a strong brilliance on his fist, and a heavy punch. It has already slammed towards Kaido behind. Boom. The flames soared into the sky, and a strong explosion occurred suddenly. Vlad didn't hold back at all, he just went all out when he came up. Bah! The sound of the flames roasting the meat, Kaido raised his right hand, his body was instantly blasted away, and he gliding in the air for a while. No way. Vlad grinned, sweat on his forehead. His attacks are definitely among the top ones in this world in terms of attack power, but with just such a fist, Kaido raised his hand and caught it. Although the price is that the body is blown away, the palms are also burned and the flesh is blurred. However, Kaido didn't use haki, it was purely defensive. What kind of monster body is this? Well. Vlad raised his eyebrows and noticed that Kaido's burnt palm had begun to recover rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it was back to normal. Just kidding. Didn't you say that he has already lost his ability to recover? Vlad's face was as calm as water. What's going on here? In fact, although the original recovery ability has indeed been suppressed, unfortunately, the awakening of more genes has brought more power to Kaido, and recovery ability is of course one of them. In this case, Vlad swallowed. Can it really last until the Kaido gene collapses? Forget it. Suddenly, there was another smile on his face. Anyway, it has come to this stage. It's up to you to see if you die. Put it. As if completely losing his mind, Kaido yelled, "Give me the Vegapunk." With a wing behind him, his body has already dashed forward like lightning. Don't think about it. Vlad said loudly. Behind, the flames roared, and the flames had appeared instantly before. Hephaestus. Shanhaiji. Woo. Countless flaming beasts roared out from Vlad's back, turned into a line of fire all over the sky and blasted towards Kaido. Ah! With a low whimper, Kaido just raised his head slightly. Boom! Swinging a fist is just a simple punch. The terrifying punching power set off a storm in the air, and the strong shock wave instantly smashed the flame beast in front of him, turning it into a little flame in the sky. Then there were continuous punches, punch after punch, thunder exploded in the sky, and the torrent of flames from Vlad could not get close to Kaido's body at all. Hey. Vlad looked very excited, flesh to shoot air cannons. What level is this? Drink. Growl. Kaido's hands instantly grew long bone blades, and then his body suddenly began to spin. Om. A huge tornado suddenly pierced through the heavens and the earth, and the flaming beasts that roared away were instantly swept in by the tornado. Hey. Vlad smiled. Then just let me see. How far can you do it? Whoosh. Vlad's body dashed forward like lightning, and the flames wrapped around him, piercing the tornado directly like a meteor streaking across the sky, and the spinning Kaido appeared in front of him again. Hey! The left hand is opened, the flames converge on the palm of the hand, and the small fireballs begin to condense on it. At first glance, it looks like a small galaxy. Kaido, quote. Vlad laughed and pressed his palm directly to Kaido's head. Was a low growl like a beast in his throat. Kaido's body suddenly flipped, and he easily rushed past Vlad's crotch. Vlad is now much bigger than him. Don't think about it. Feel free to enjoy the second stage. Vlad's arm suddenly twisted, his body turned around, and his palm pressed towards Kaido's back like a shadow. Gala. An unbelievable scene appeared. Kaido's upper body turned 180 degrees and faced Vlad directly. Boom. Covered with hockey slammed into Vlad's left hand. What? Vlad opened his eyes, and a strong force was transmitted from his left hand, and even the force that hit the fruit could not be completely absorbed. Then underscore. Boom 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 boom. It's a continuous explosion. Hey! Vlad screamed and was directly blasted out. His left arm was twisted with terrifying power. Vegapunk. In just an instant, the relatively petite body had caught up with Vlad's body that flew upside down, and his hand had already grabbed Vlad's tail, throwing Vlad directly into the sky. This is God's power. Chapter 805. The war is in full swing. Is that the boss just now? The huge tiger man's body is jumping on the ground like a phantom. Jin is the awakening ability of the ancient saber-toothed tiger fruit of the zone cat fruit. The strength is extremely strong, not only in strength, but also in the speed of the cat. Sensitivity is also reflected in his body most vividly. What the hell happened? Jin frowned, his body flashed outwards, and a huge semi-solid fist fell from the sky, bombarding the place where he was originally. A terrifying explosion occurred, and a huge mushroom cloud rushed into the sky. Chef is the awakened ability of the Paramecia oil fruit, and can only create a variety of oils, which is also a terrifying ability. It's better not to be distracted. The chef stood on the shoulders of the giant, raised his right hand, and the surrounding ground surged instantly. The translucent grease had replaced the solid surrounding ground, instantly taking away all of Jin's footholds. Cut. Cold snort, his body soared into the sky, and his feet stepped on the air, as if stepping on the ground. What a difficult thing. As expected of a big cat. Chef exclaimed, how flexible. Boom. The explosion sounded, the chef stretched out his hands, the huge giant suddenly changed, the surrounding ground followed at the same time, and countless dense tentacles entangled towards Jin's body from all directions. Just for a moment, the surrounding sky was completely being blocked. The difference between the sky and the earth can no longer be seen, as if the world has fallen into darkness in an instant. Don't underestimate people. Jin whispered, his claws crossed in front of his chest, and the sharp claws looked very infiltrating. Drink. With a low roar, with a wave of both hands, a dazzling slash roared out. As long as the strength is enough, a simple claws can do something like this. Hey! The 10 slashes were like 10 invincible giant blades, which easily tore a hole in the tentacles of the chef. Jin's speed exploded in an instant, breaking through the hole and escaping. Great! The chef sincerely praised. Then, with his hands together, the giant under him collapsed suddenly, and at the same time, the translucent liquid on the ground solidified in an instant, and then rushed into the sky. The sky covered the sky. The scale is far more amazing than the previous tentacle group. Damn boy! The amount of blue veins bursting out on the head, how much physical strength does this guy have? Can this level of awakening be easily achieved? Crack! There was a muffled sound in the air, and Jin's body had disappeared in place, flashing towards the chef. Hee hee! The chef let out a chuckle, and his folded hands suddenly crossed his fingers. Boom! The butter in the sky collapsed towards Jin like a mudslide after a landslide. No matter how fast the speed was, he couldn't avoid it. There was absolutely no room for him to escape, all directions, and no dead ends. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Jin scolded his body angrily. His body suddenly began to spin. Like a tornado, countless flashes were released from his hands, and in an instant, a storm was set off. Boom! The huge butter sphere had already appeared in front of the chef. From time to time, sharp slashes broke through the limitation of the sphere and shot out from the inside, but in an instant, the cracks would be filled directly. In that case, the chef snapped his fingers, and the butter sphere instantly transformed into a transparent liquid. What? Jin was stunned for a moment, but the slashing wave continued. Then, boom! The terrifying explosion just happened, shocking the world. Terrifying. What chefs call explosive oil is actually something called nitroglycerin, the kind that explodes with a little vibration. Such a terrifying amount will naturally lead to an earth-shattering explosion. Dash 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 dash. Tisk. A little unhappy, Enel waved his hand, and the thunderclouds in the sky dissipated. Did you run away? Ugly guy. Very unhappy, completely unhappy. His battle is over. These guys from CP0 really don't have any tough minds. Knowing that this time the battle may not go in the direction they originally expected, even if Marine Plus after the 100 Beast Pirates did not gain the upper hand, these guys who were like grass on the wall were shaken very much. They had no sense of belonging to the government. Possibly, so keep fighting might be able to kill Enel, but there will definitely be dead among them. And each of them didn't want to die, so naturally, running away was the best choice. They didn't take the government seriously at first, but it was more convenient to be under the government's banner, so even if they were wanted by the government, it didn't matter. Now there are the Fire Dragon Pirates and the Revolutionary Army were used as targets, and the government could not do anything about them for a while. Forget it, at this time. Enel turned his head and looked at Katakuri and a few androids who were in a fierce battle with Fujitora on the other side. It's better to save a little bit. Dash 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 dash. PFF'd. A mouthful of blood spewed from his mouth, and it fell from the sky like a meteorite. The man named Lucci was directly blasted into the ground. The terrifying power displayed by the other party caught him by surprise, both in strength and speed. Self. I said. In the sky, the Straw Hat shouted, I won't lose again. Rubber rubber, crow cannon. Search swish swish swish. The pitch-black fists fell from the sky like a torrential rain, bombarding the ground one after another, and the solid ground was shattered like mud, splashing up. Cut. Flickering appeared on the side, and at the critical moment, Lucci shaved to the limit, and finally got out of the previous place before being beaten. This guy. Don't try to run. The Straw Hat came back to his senses in an instant, and his body rushed forward like a cannonball. Orochi cannon. Cut. Lucci grinned. Dash 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 dash. Well. Kurozumi Orochi looked surprised. You bastard. A group of people appeared in front of him, headed by a woman, a beautiful over-the-top woman, with black hair, an indifferent and arrogant expression, and two golden snake-shaped earrings on their ears. One Piece, Boa Hancock. His Excellency the General of Wano-kuni is not a short-sighted person. The man who is eager for Wano-kuni's external expansion is of course full of external curiosity. Why did he appear here? I finally met someone. The Empress said in a particularly unhappy manner, and then she noticed Sakata on the side. Well. You are from the Fire Dragon Pirates, aren't you? Quote. Sakata didn't speak. Where is your captain? There was no politeness in the Empress's tone, it was full of arrogance. Take me to him. Haha, sorry. Kurozumi Orochi said in a somewhat ignorant manner. Boa Hancock, this guy can't go anywhere, he has to die here. Well. The Queen turned back. Chapter 806 Kaido's Weakness. Meet. Vlad was flying in the air and was blown away with a punch, with blood hanging from the corners of his mouth, and flying around in the air. This is the so-called feng shui rotation. In the past, he was the only one who knocked others away. The dead of the year, I was playing with various heavy arms in front of Kaido before, playing this guy like a fool, and now it is his turn to be unlucky. Cut. The 6 wings on the back flapped suddenly, and the body regained balance, but before Vlad could catch his breath, the whistling wind had once again come from behind. Now Kaido's speed is no slower than Vlad at all. Vlad has been convinced until now that Kaido has surpassed his limit and is no longer a human being, a monster, even if Vlad is called a monster no matter what, but now Kaido is different, he is already a real monster that surpasses human beings. The body changed suddenly, and the second stage of freedom gave Vlad a power similar to Rokushiki, 6 styles life return, and could easily manipulate his body. So of course, it is possible to forcefully twist his chest like this, twist it to the left, and cut a big hole in the position of the empty hole on the right. Hey! Vlad grinned, and a relatively petite fist pierced through the gap Vlad exposed. You! Vlad was happy. Kaido let out a roar, and his fist actually twisted, almost like Vlad's same move, and slammed it directly towards Vlad's ribs. Tisk! Vlad looked a little unwilling, but his body had already made the best judgment. Flames spewed from his left fist, and he was already condescending towards Kaido's fist. Absorb. At the moment when the 2 fists collided, Vlad said loudly, the ability to impact the fruit was activated instantly, and Kaido's surging punch was instantly weakened. Boom! Hey! In the flames rising from the sky, Vlad screamed and was blasted out again. There was a deep fist mark on his left fist covered with thick dragon scales, and blood gushed out from there. Even using the ability to impact the fruit to absorb Kaido's power, weakening a large part of Kaido's punching power, but the remaining power made Vlad realize what is the crushing of power. How to fight this? Vlad grinned, it's too strong. Even when I fought with Kaido for the first time before, I never faced such a dilemma. Although I didn't wake up at that time, and I didn't have the blessing of freedom, I was still able to calmly control Kaido's hands, but now it seems that I can't do it anymore. This is still the brainless version of Kaido. Vlad suddenly thought, what if this guy regains his senses? How strong will it be? This is the power beyond the limit. Will it? Even in such a fierce battle, Vlad's thoughts could not stop radiating in all directions. He was thinking, since the guy who is beyond the limit now has a Kaido, in the long history, will there be the existence of those beyond the limit? This is quite possible, since there is a first, why can't there be a second? Kaido is imperfect beyond the limit, referred to as the limiter, so will there be a perfect existence? Vlad suddenly wanted to laugh, this world is amazing. Kaido didn't let Vlad mean, his body swelled up suddenly, and instantly turned into a giant about 20 meters tall. This. Vlad was startled, is it a cavernous body? Will it be anemia? Isn't the ability to suddenly increase in size like the previous giant battleship Sanyuan Hungry Wolf? But Kaido is obviously not an ability person, so this is some kind of strange gene. Vegapunk. An earth-shattering roar, Vlad thought, Kaido really loves Vegapunk. Kill you. Roaring like this, Kaido's body has begun to change again, and it has turned into a dragon in the blink of an eye. A black dragon appeared in front of Vlad. I rely on. Vlad stared, this is plagiarism. The dragon transformed by Kaido is very similar to Vlad's fully dragonized fire dragon, but strictly speaking, it is more like a mixture of many biological characteristics, with the feeling of a large lizard and wings. Whoosh! With a whistling, only the wings flashed, the huge black dragon has appeared above Vlad's head, and the huge claws have padded towards Vlad. Kill you. This is the second sentence that Kaido said. If you want to kill, you shouldn't kill that guy Vegapunk. Vlad smiled, but who's afraid of you? The flames rose up, and the huge dark red fire dragon had appeared above the sky, and in terms of volume, it even surpassed Kaido and became a huge black dragon. Boom. Vlad raised his left arm and placed it on Kaido's swiped claws. The previously absorbed shock suddenly poured out. Since it can't compete in terms of strength, then play with technology. The impact combined with Vlad's own strength, the two powerful forces converged, directly reversing the direction of Kaido's claws' bombardment, and swept across Vlad's side like a glimpse. This is the so-called 4 or 2,000 pounds. Hey! With a wild laugh in his mouth, a strong flame converged on Vlad's right fist, and the flame rose up. The great dragon fist universe exploded. Boom! The huge fist slammed into the big black dragon's chest. The raging flames instantly swept the world. The strong storm blew in an instant, and the terrifying heat seemed to heat the sky. Call. The huge black dragon was blasted out directly by Vlad, and there was a big fist mark on the chest, just like the fist mark he left on Vlad's hand before. Of course, the fist mark has begun to recover quickly, and in the blink of an eye it was already intact, as if he had not been hit. Although the injury on Vlad's hand has also recovered, it is still different from the recovery of cheating like Kaido. You can't win. Vlad said, it doesn't look like a win. All round backward, whether it is speed, strength, resilience, Kaido this guy has reached the inhuman realm, although he does not want to admit it, but he is no longer the opponent of this guy. Give Kaido an injection, maybe a bad move. Forget it. Vlad smiled, if you can't beat it, then don't fight. His body shrank suddenly, and it has changed back to the appearance of a human. His body suddenly fell, and then he also used the moon step. Even an expert can do this. Blue 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 blue. Click. Soon, the other side connected the phone. What's the matter? On the other side of the phone, someone said that. Yo, doctor, I have something to do with you. Vlad smiled. Well. Kaido's body froze for a moment, then. Vegapunk. The huge black dragon has already rushed towards this side, and the sound is extremely shrill. So. Vlad then tossed the phone bug in his hand. Doctor, there's a guy who wants to talk to you. Vegapunk. Roaring like this, the huge black dragon has already rushed towards the phone bug. The ability of the fluttering fruit can make this phone bug fly to the sky. Although it can't make the phone bug fly, it can still make the white coat on the phone bug fly. Call. Vlad wiped the sweat from his forehead. The weakness is actually quite obvious. Is it just waiting now? Wait for the Kaido gene to collapse. Chapter 807 Attack. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Mariajoy, Pengu City, City of Flowers, the 5 Gorosei 5 elders gathered together, each with an extremely heavy look on their faces, the huge hole in the ceiling tingling their nerves all the time. Lord did you wake up early? It's over. Gorosei 5 elders with blonde hair dripped with sweat on his forehead. The frenzy that the dragon guy has set off in the 4 seas continues to spread. The marine guys are really a bunch of rubbish. So far there is no progress. If that adult sees such a situation. The bearded Gorosei 5 elders pulled the corners of his mouth and revealed a creepy smile. The world he loved the most was destroyed like this. Things from 800 years ago. Bearded Gorosei 5 elders smiled wryly. Will it happen again? The world is coming again. Bald Gorosei 5 elders sighed. Is it a disaster? Yes. Sword-wielding Gorosei 5 elders pushed the glasses on his forehead and said, it's baptism. The question now is. The bearded Gorosei 5 elders exclaimed, where the hell did Lord go? This place doesn't have his control. Damn. The bearded Gorosei 5 elders snarled, it's really a troublesome situation that hasn't happened in 800 years. The grievances of the Gorosei 5 elders were ignored, and in Wano Kuni the fierce battle continued. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Did you run away? Chaton Tokikake turned his head and looked very disdainful. The CP0 guy is still as ugly as ever, only dare to do things behind his back. Roar. A loud roar, The huge colorful tiger has already pounced towards Chaton Tokikake. Its claws are covered with pitch-black haki, and the mouth is flashing with dazzling light. It is indeed a terrifying creation. In terms of power alone, it is far superior to humans. Even Shichibukai-level monsters are very difficult to suppress them in terms of power. They also have haki, a very powerful armament haki, and with their artificial zone ability, the strength of these guys is really quite powerful, and it is definitely not a terrifying force that ordinary people can contend with. Even among Shichibukai-level monsters, they are definitely not weak. To be able to entangle the Chaton Tokikake, who has not yet moved into the real world. But he threw up a wall of dirt, and the dark haki covered it, blocking the raid of the androids, but Chaton Tokikake didn't have the ease he showed before. This strength is already too strong. Chaton Tokikake thought so. The strength displayed by the Fire Dragon Pirates is indeed too strong. In terms of strength, it is far superior to the ordinary 4 Emperor Pirates. Chaton Tokikake understands it very well. If Marine hadn't come to spoil the situation, maybe the battle between the Fire Dragon Pirates and the Beast Pirates would have ended, and the Fire Dragon Pirates would definitely win the final victory. Chaton Tokikake knew this very well. The Dragon Pirates have grown to such an extent that it is not easy for even the Marine headquarters to come out to win from their hands. This is really distressing enough. Have you had enough fun? On the other side, the woman holding the long sword in her hand looked a little angry. With a heavy slash and a turbulent slash, the biscuit soldier in front of him was cut in half. Momoshiki said loudly, "Tokikake, it's almost done." Chaton Tokikake turned his head, and seemed to be a little uncomfortable because he was criticized by the woman he liked. Gion-chan is really hard to deal with because of the enemy. Stop playing tricks. Hurry up. Momoshiki's eyes were sharp. I always feel that something bad is about to happen. Okay. Chaton Tokikake nodded, since Gion-chan said so. The surrounding ground began to twist in an instant. Chaton Tokikake, the awakening ability of Logia's soil fruit, is a well-deserved monster. Sister Crane, Mr. Isho. Momoshiki said loudly, let's speed it up. Neat. Fujitora nodded with a serious expression. Indeed. There's something very terrifying. It's coming. The sea quite far from Wano-kuni. A small boat continued going, like an arrow from the string. The speed is amazing, and there is no speed that a small boat should have. The Shiryu group who escaped from Wano-kuni did not sit on the boat leisurely. Although they had already escaped from the battlefield of Wano-kuni, these guys did not let their guard down and were still rowing the boat at a high speed. Yeah, now I've completely offended the government. Holding a wine bottle in his hand, the large wine barrel with a big rosacea burped and said with a smile, "Haha, you will definitely be hunted down later, right?" Hey. Evil King laughed softly, they won't have any extra time to talk to us later. The war in Wano-kuni will definitely not kill the fire dragon. In this case, the fire dragon is only one step away from the location of One Piece, King of Pirates. And the revolutionary army that is now raging in the 4 seas, the government has no extra energy to take care of us. Ha, will you be able to live freely in the future? The ugly woman rarely seen in the sea, the crescent moon hunter Katarina Devon smiled. Although there is a danger of being wanted by the government, it is better to live your own way, right? What's next, Shiryu? Do you want to be a pirate with us? Asked the big barrel. Pirates. With a cigar in his mouth, Shiryu laughed. It seems to be good, but now it seems that there is no point in being a pirate. The government can't stop the dragon pirates from ascending to the throne. New One Piece King of Pirates, haha. It's coming soon. New. It was very abrupt, and some low muffled voice came from one side. One Piece King of Pirates. What? Shiryu was stunned for a moment, and then there was cold sweat on his forehead. What's the situation? Someone could come to him without a sound, even the 4 emperors would never be able to do such a thing. Shiryu is still quite confident. So, what's the situation? The other people were in almost the same situation. Their faces were covered in cold sweat and they looked extremely terrified. I'm afraid they never thought that such a thing would happen to them. There is a vast ocean here, and there is nothing. How could someone suddenly appear by their side? You are. Although I really want to deny it, what I absolutely cannot deny is that this guy in a black robe with a high crown on his head is indeed already standing on the bow of their boat and can't see clearly. The voice of the guy with the face passed. CP0 right. Tell me, that side. On the other side of the sea, what happened? King of the World, Sassy Debut. Chapter 808 Victory. Wow. Boom, boom, boom. The strong force is like a volcanic eruption. This is definitely not a force that normal people can resist. It is really terrifying. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and the huge crocodile was no longer as arrogant as before. Instead, it looked extremely miserable. Ooze. Hee 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 hee. The astonishingly creepy terrifying laughter is spreading around unscrupulously, which is a laughter that can make people feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. The huge muscle monster held the tail of the huge crocodile firmly with both hands, and kept beating on the ground. The solid ground was like bean curd and was completely unable to resist such power. The huge cracks could only spread in vain. This is an astonishing sight, like the sky is falling apart. Isn't it still very arrogant just now? Moria laughed loudly. Her devil-like face was full of rampant wantonness. This was the kind of revenge that she had been looking forward to for more than 10 years. Hee 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 hee. Ah. Asshole, asshole, asshole. I tried my best to twist the body, but it was in vain after all. All the huge crocodile can do is curse and vomit blood. The so-called strength gap refers to such things. After all, the huge crocodile is not as strong as Jin or the dead Quinn. Moria, who had swallowed hundreds of shadows, had no power to fight back. This is. Blue veins appeared on both arms. Moria grinned. It's over. The huge crocodile was thrown into the sky. Om. The dark shadow rushed into the sky, turned into an incomparably sharp shadow spear, and stabbed directly at the huge crocodile. Damn it. Struggling weakly, the body has lost the strength to move, the crocodile shouted, it's just a lost dog. Idiot. Moria smiled lowly, what are you after being bitten to death by a bereaved dog? Dash 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 dash. Who? Damn. Breathing heavily, the giant elephant man covered with thick hair held two machetes, his forehead was covered in sweat, bastard. Admit your fate. Extremely agile, the big dog with a long sword in his hand jumped up, and the long sword wrapped around the dark hockey stabbed straight towards the elephant, which is Jack. Cut. A wave of the mobile phone's machete, it directly blocked Duke Inuarashi's blow. You can't do it, old dog. With such a big laugh, the fat big cat gave full play to his agility as a feline, and appeared directly behind Jack's back. The trident in his hand had stabbed towards Jack's back. Look at me anyway. Damn. Combat power. Both Duke Inuarashi and Boss Nekomamushi were strong men who were very close to him. Of course, he was not afraid of fighting alone, but of course he couldn't handle these two monsters at the same time. Get away from me. With such a loud roar, his arms suddenly exerted force, flicking Duke Inuarashi's sword, his body twisted, and the two knives of the mobile phone had already slashed towards the big cat's body. Cut. Boss Nekomamushi looked a little unhappy. He raised his trident and blocked Jack's attack. Of course, what he was unhappy about was. Ha, got it. With such a proud smile, the sharp sword was wrapped in a layer of hockey and stabbed directly into Jack's back. Ah! With a scream, blood spilled from the corners of his mouth, and Jack's eyes were bloodshot. It was almost time to understand that this time, it seemed that the war could not be won. Damn it, don't think about. Jack's body suddenly swelled and turned into a huge mammoth again. Boss Kaido. I'm going to kill you. The trapped beast is still fighting. Boss Nekomamushi sneered, but such indomitable will is not objectionable. Duke Inuarashi nodded. But two of them said in unison, since it is an enemy, let's die. Dash 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 dash. Hey, I didn't expect such a coincidence. The three swordsman had a smile on his face, even though his clothes were a little torn, but his face was indeed a proud smile. I actually met you in this place. Who? In front of him, a giraffe-like man was breathing heavily, with wounds all over his body. The strength of this green-haired man in the past 2 years has grown far beyond his imagination. It's really nice. Zoro smiled. At that time we were too weak to be defeated by you. This time, it will not be the same. Cut. Kaku's expression was rather unpleasant, and it seemed that something went wrong with the mission this time. I'll blow you away now. Rubber rubber. Lion King Bazooka. With such a roar, a strong vibration suddenly struck, and the ground was broken. Even from a long distance, one could feel the terrifying shock of an earthquake, as if the island was about to be shattered. Looks like it's over there. Zoro smiled, looking at the face of Kaku opposite. The man whispered. Then. Three swords profound truth. Dash 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 dash. Mythical more precious than Logia. The woman raised her head high and looked down at the guy she stepped on. The man in black has lost consciousness, his stomach has turned into a stone, and there is a huge gap. It looks like he can't live anymore. Of course there is nothing I can do in front of my concubine. The beautiful woman raised her hair, because the concubine is the most shining person in the world. Queen. Behind the scenes, the two sisters were very excited. Ding 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 ding. Of course, not everyone is addicted to her beauty, and the decisive battle between the two men continues. No. Kurozumi Orochi frowned tightly. His closest bodyguard was a shadow warrior that few people knew existed. Mythical Nu was killed just like that, and such a spoiler would appear at a critical moment. You're done. Sakata had a smile on his face. He hadn't been so happy for a long time. Two swords flow, flowing water, profound truth, big tsunami. The body suddenly jumped to the sky, Sakata's double swords intertwined, and the whole body's strength poured out. Boom. From top to bottom, azure blue slashes roared. Cut. Kurozumi Orochi clasped his hands together and let out a slow sigh of relief. Okay then come on. Final victory. Chapter 809 Last of the Last. Woo. Looks like I won in the end. Slowly lighting a cigarette and blowing out a smoke ring, the maid took out an injection from her pocket and put her backhand into her arm. Even she, of course, will not be unscathed when facing the new top cadre of the Beast Pirates. Even if this woman who can become a giant eagle is not particularly strong, she can be a new leader. The top cadre of the 100 Beasts Pirates would cause a little injury to the maid as a matter of course. There was a huge penetrating wound on her stomach, and the beautiful woman was paralyzed on the ground, not losing consciousness. You guy. A very weak curse came out of her mouth. Don't be arrogant, Boss Kaido, he will tear you all to pieces. Huh. The maid said disdainfully, then let him come. If he can do it. Of course, the maid now doesn't know how strong Kaido has become after being stabbed by her captain. In her opinion, Kaido has no reason to be his captain's opponent. Okay. The maid stretched out her right hand, and her pure white right hand had turned into a muzzle that shone with intense brilliance. Let's say goodbye. Scoff. Dash 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 dash. It's true. Gently landed on the ground, Vlad remotely controlled the phone bug in the sky, feeling a little like the rest of his life. I almost thought I was going to be killed. Kaido after the injection is simply terrifying. Vlad has been directly beaten. It is hard to imagine that such a monster-level combat power is allowed in the world. It is completely beyond the imagination of ordinary people. So does Vlad. Oh. Raising his eyebrows, Vlad's tone was full of jokes, almost caught up. With a wave of his left hand, the phone worm suddenly accelerated in the air, turned at an extreme speed, and raced against the clock to avoid the hideous dragon claws that were grabbing towards it. Kaido has turned into a black dragon. The sharp expansion of the body size brings about the weakening of the agility, of course. The size of the phone bug is only the size of a human palm, which is only a drop in the bucket compared to Kaido's huge size. Rad just needs to get the phone worm spinning around the dragon, and he'll be able to keep this guy going around. Fortunately, this guy is losing his mind now. Vlad smiled. Otherwise, how could it be so easy? However, Vlad said with sincere admiration, "It's really amazing, Dr. Vegapunk, the god-making project, it's amazing." Now the semi-finished Kaido is so strong. If it is really a finished product, how strong will it be? Vlad was quite looking forward to it. He suddenly had the idea of letting Vegapunk continue this plan. Maybe he could really create a god in the end. Hello. Vlad suddenly laughed. Woo ha ha ha. That would be so funny. But how long will it take? Vlad looked at Kaido, who was alive and kicking in the sky, and looked a little helpless. Really, his genes will collapse immediately and he will die directly. Can't see it at all. You're not lying to me, are you? Doctor. Vegapunk. The sky, Kaido's roar continued. Kaido's actions, which had completely lost its rationality, were all based on instinct. The hatred for Vegapunk had completely enveloped his mind, and he relied on this anger to drive his body. Does it seem like she really hates me? Kaido. Quite unexpectedly, Vegapunk didn't hang up the phone, and was still arguing with Kaido, really, as a man. Don't be too narrow-minded. Since he is already a hero galloping on the sea, as long as he can indulge himself. Is sailing enough? Roar. Vegapunk. Completely useless, whether or not he lost his mind. Vegapunk's words did nothing but make Kaido even more angry. Vegapunk. I'm going to kill you. Obviously I never asked, but I was forcibly brought into this world. I was different from everyone. I didn't belong to myself, I wasn't a human, I wasn't a beast, and I felt nothing but long-term loneliness. That's all. That's it. Of course Vegapunk doesn't mean to be afraid at all, not to mention that he is hiding behind the phone now. Kaido can't hurt him even if he crushes the phone bug into scum, even if he is in front of Kaido now. As an experimenter, it's only natural that you won't be afraid of your own experiments, right? Aren't you conscious? It seems that the error is quite large. Vegapunk seemed a little ashamed. I thought that after you injected that medicine, you were already a god who could compete with that person, and it really isn't that simple to want to go beyond the limits of human beings. Roar. Flames spewed out of the black dragon's mouth and rushed towards the phone bug. Vlad below panicked and quickly moved the phone bug away. He also expected to use the phone bug to tease Kaido for a while, and such it's so hard for guys to fight. What a pity. Vegapunk looked a little regretful. If you can stay sensible, maybe you can really kill the fire dragon, and I may really be able to develop a technology that can create gods on this basis. Hello. Below, Vlad was very upset and said in a loud voice, Doctor, I can hear you. This is probably the end of your life, isn't it? Vegapunk ignored Vlad's intentions. His voice sounded a little awkward. Bringing you into this world without your permission. You will be angry, of course I understand, then, since it's the last, Kaido. Vegapunk says, goodbye. Pang, K. Anger, unprecedented anger. The body shrinks instantly. Kaido has become a magical character with 6 hands, a bunch of wings, and the sharp shrinking body of course brings high-intensity agility. This time, no matter how much Vlad manipulated, the phone bug couldn't escape from Kaido's hands. It was directly crushed by Kaido. Hey. Vlad was annoyed. Vegapunk, you're here to find fault with me on purpose. Roar. A roar, Kaido was already charging towards Vlad. Where is Vegapunk? Tisk. Vlad clenched his fists. How much longer? Dash 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 dash. Outside the flower capital, the battle with Marine continues. Lightning Enel. Fujitora's face was very solemn. What a tough opponent. CP0 has already run away, so of course Enel will target others. Hey. Above the sky, Enel had a smile on his face. As long as he wasn't approached, Fujitora couldn't do anything about him. Without a body, he certainly wouldn't be pulled by Fujitora's gravity. Huh. Almost at the same time, the two instantly turned their heads and looked in a certain direction. What? Enel frowned. Woo. The wind was howling, and something came. Genius for a second to remember the address of this site. Mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 810 Man in Black. Looks like we won. The chef's face was full of smiles and seemed to be very proud. Around, the battle had gradually come to an end. The battle between the maid and the giant eagle girl was naturally won by the maid, and the giant eagle girl had been directly bombarded by the maid. The battle between the two women was unexpectedly straightforward, without any sloppy meaning at all. The maid did not hesitate to kill the killer, the new leader of the beast pirates. The cadre died immediately. Then the battle between Duke Inuarashi, the boss of Nekomamushi, and Jack of the Drought. Unfortunately, even a top strongman like Jack, who has been known for a long time in the New World, is of course unable to face two monsters of the same level as him at the same time. The one who wins is not a cartoon. After all, there is no such thing for him to use. Although the blood is very thick, it will not lock the blood, and of course will not return to the blood, so what awaits him is the result of the defeat. But the cat and dog, the two bosses of the furry principality, were not as ruthless as maids. They just knocked Jack out, that's all. Then there is the battle between Gecko Moria and the Crocodile Man. Although Moria was a decadent and dead otaku before he met Vlad, after he strengthened his belief in revenge against Kaido and began to exercise, the strength of this guy was timely. In the Shichibukai queue, it is also in the forefront. When dealing with such a dragon role that does not even have a name, of course, it is still easy to capture. The bug ability of the Shadow Fruit is really difficult to deal with. It was not easy to meet him, and the Crocodile Man could only be played with reluctantly by Moria for a while, and finally he was thrown into the sky by Moria, and he was stabbed by a shadow gun. The battle is almost at this point. The cadres of the beast pirates have basically been wiped out. As for the miscellaneous soldiers, the conqueror that broke out when Kaido was injected by Vlad was basically the same. The field has been cleared, and those who can still stand are basically high-ranking and powerful cadres, and now there is still room to resist, that is, only Jin is alone. And now, the battle on this side is almost over. Cut. Jin's complexion is gloomy, his body is tattered, his clothes have been completely smashed, and there are large black marks on the fur on his body. This is the aftermath of being wrapped in explosive oil by the chef and directly bombed at zero distance, so strong it is basically impossible for the explosion not to leave scars. Even with Jin's strength, he was seriously injured. Of course, for Jin, this injury is really not a big deal. Zone Awakening ability, it's so terrifying, and now the injuries on his body have basically recovered. However, Kim is indeed facing a desperate situation. Not because of the injury, but... Damn. Kim looked around. He. Low laugh, Moria leaned over. Kim, I'm still quite impressed with you. Let's end it sooner. A cigarette in her mouth, the maid whispered, don't delay too long. Don't forget that Marine is behind. That's right. Followed by the two leaders of the furry principality, Duke Inuarashi and the boss of Nekomamushi, the captain of the Sun Pirates, Jinbei the seaman, and the ship doctor of the Dragon Pirates, Trafalgar Law. Almost there. Boss. Kim didn't flinch at all. I look like I'm going to be screwed. However, the man said, even if it's going to end, it's better to end it vigorously, right? The matter has come to this point. There is only a fight to the death. Dash 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 dash. Cut. Vlad has turned into a fire dragon again. There is no way. Kaido has no intention of dying due to genetic collapse at all. He can still rush towards him recklessly. It looks like he is going to tear him apart. Vlad, of course, you can't just sit still, right? Vlad strongly suspects that Vegapunk is lying to him. In fact, after the injection, Kaido has no such setting that his genes will collapse, right? In fact, the experiment has been very successful, right? It's just an excuse for Vegapunk, right? Just want to use Kaido's time to destroy himself, and then manipulate Kaido to rule the world. It's not Vlad's whimsy, but I really can't see how fast Vegapunk said it is. It's been a long time. Okay, how long do we have to wait? This guy is really a bit fierce, and he can't bear it anymore. Roar. Was originally capable of shouting. Vegapunk has been further degraded to the point where it can only be shouted. Without extra words, the six fists covered Vlad like a hurricane. Forget it. Vlad let out a slow sigh of relief. I have to work hard, right? If I don't get in, those guys will die. If Vlad is not on top, Kaido will definitely be able to easily kill everyone on this island. Vlad is very clear that even his power that is difficult to deal with is a natural disaster for others. Comfortable. Vlad's eyes suddenly became a little dazed, completely lost focus, full power. Roar. Kaido roared. His fist was almost on Vlad's body, and at this moment, Vlad's body twisted suddenly. Twisted into a twist, calmly avoiding Kaido's fist storm. It's not like I don't have the power to fight back. Vlad smiled, and the fists had already slammed towards Kaido's chest. Yeah. Suddenly, Vlad was stunned, as if he was dodging Kaido's attack. Kaido's body was twisted in an instant, easily dodging Vlad's blow. Great. Vlad sincerely sighed, just relying on instinct. To be able to have such a reaction ability, it is indeed a terrible guy. Drink. Vlad's fist turned abruptly, and the ability to manipulate his body was quite useful. Boom. Then Vlad's fist collided with Kaido's. With a grunt, Vlad was blasted out again. How long will it take? Vlad shook his arm, feeling like he was about to break, as if his bones were broken. That is this time. Boom. The surging aura did not know where it came from. It fell from the sky like the sky was collapsing. Vlad was like a gust of wind blowing directly on his face. This is... Vlad was stunned for a moment, feeling like this, what's going on? Just like the aura released by Kaido before, it is strong beyond the limits of human beings. It's you. A dark shadow suddenly appeared in the air, finally found it. The only king. Here, play the song of debut. Chapter 811. Vlad and I am, first meeting. What? Vlad was stunned, but suddenly, a guy in black clothes appeared in the sky. The most striking thing was, of course, his thin body and a high crown on his head. It's really impressive. This guy. Vlad was surprised, not only by this guy's strange costume, but also by his sudden appearance. Although all his attention was on Kaido before, it didn't mean he didn't pay attention. There was movement around, but I suddenly noticed the rapid approach of a figure, and then this guy had already appeared above the sky and appeared in front of him, which was indeed quite astonishing. Woo! The guy in the black robe suddenly appeared. Kaido immediately stopped attacking Vlad. It was not an illusion. Vlad could clearly feel that Kaido's roar was no longer as violent as he was facing him before. Instead, it was unexpected that he seemed a little timid and a little afraid. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would have been hard for Vlad to imagine that Kaido could show such an expression. This guy lost his mind, so, it means. Vlad's eyes narrowed. Let Kaido feel fear instinctively. What a horrible fellow. Coupled with the momentum that this guy showed when he appeared on the stage, Vlad had to guess that this person, this black-robed crown man, maybe, just like Kaido, a monster that has surpassed the limits of human beings. Also, the black robe. Vlad's thoughts began to diverge again, and he naturally remembered Mrs. Chiarli's prophecy before, which contained important content about the man in black robes. Such a strong guy really couldn't help him not thinking about it. Vlad was thinking about it, but the man in black robe didn't pay any attention to him at all. Of course, the man in black robe could not be anyone else. Naturally, he had just rushed over from Mariajoy, making Gorose, 5 elders nervous. The de facto leader of the world government, the big hand behind the world where no one knows his existence, the guy called I Am Sama. Few escaped CP0s into the bottom of the sea, and then rushed to the flower capital of Wanokuni without stopping, didn't take his eyes off Kaido's body. What? I Am said that, with a look of disgust in his tone, is it just a beast? It's disgusting. Certainly didn't take much effort to see that the current Kaido was a demented empty shell. Roar. Kaido's face twisted, as if two instincts were in a fierce conflict. The coexistence of two expressions of anger and shrinkage on one face was really funny enough. You guy is Kaido of the beasts. Although Lord Yimu has been sleeping all the year round, it does not mean that he lacks a basic understanding of famous people in the sea. As a person who has been silently hiding behind the scenes and watching the world, he is more concerned about these things that can affect the balance of the world. The heroes are quite familiar. Looking like this, you have indeed broken through that gap. Trouble, did that kid from Vegapunk do it? Sure enough, he should have been killed long ago. I Am seems to know Vegapunk. Tianrin's technology is really troublesome. This time I will definitely not forget it. We must effectively solve this guy. Heaven. Im's voice is really not a big word, that is, the level of talking to himself, but it happens that Vlad is a person with very sensitive ears, and the dragon fruit strengthens his body in all aspects, including the 5 senses, so he heard Imam's words clearly. Heaven and man. The most eye-catching, of course, is this term. As the name suggests, the so-called heavenly people means people from the sky, or people who come down from the sky, right? Vlad pinched his chin. Peng, K. Before Yimu's words fell, Kaido, who was still flinching and angered, went berserk. The words Vegapunk in Im's words instantly hit his G-spot. This guy's body was instantly covered with a layer of dark hockey. The body swelled, except for the extra pair of wings. It was not much different from the original Kaido. Wings flapped. Kaido had already dashed forward like lightning, but he had already rushed in front of Im in an instant, and his huge fist had already smashed towards the enemy. Stupid. Im's voice was very cold. The ants crawling on the ground actually dared to throw their fists at the sky. No resistance at all. Im stood above the sky, his body gently to one side, and Kaido's fist had brushed past him. Ah! Kaido roared. His fist twisted and slammed into Im's back from an unbelievable angle. At the same time another fist slammed out, targeting Im's head. Im was speechless, and a strange scene happened. His body was like catkins in the wind, fluttering with the airflow, easily avoiding all Kaido's attacks. This is... Vlad squinted his eyes, and always felt that such a scene was very familiar. Foresee the future. I am what Vlad has seen countless times now, on his brother, Katakuri. If you are presumptuous, you should be satisfied, right? I am stretched out his right hand, facing Kaido, rabid dog. Boom. Vlad still didn't understand what was going on. Kaido had been blasted directly into the ground like a shell out of the chamber. Ah! Vlad exclaimed, that's amazing. Really amazing. Vlad didn't take advantage of Kaido like this. It's a bit embarrassing to tell the truth. Uncle Vlad should have been the strongest person in the sea, but why did he suddenly appear so powerful guy? Forget about Kaido, the short-lived opener. What happened to this little-known bug player? Vlad has a feeling of being a version behind them. Then, Im turned his head and looked in Vlad's direction. You are, Ferdinando Vlad, captain of the Fire Dragon Pirates. Oh. Vlad was taken aback for a moment, then smiled randomly. You know me. It's really an honor. You are more dangerous than this rabid dog. Im's voice is very muddy, completely unable to judge the gender, age and mental state. I'm going to erase you. Vlad looked a little flattered. No way. How can I be more dangerous than Kaido boss? This boss, are you wrong? Your thinking is too dangerous, the world you managed to save from that country's hands. Im's words made Vlad a little stunned. I must not let it be dominated by this kind of evil thought again. You who have inherited ideas are more dangerous than Vegapunk who has inherited technology. Quote. Vlad frowned. Roar. The beast roared, and a huge black shadow rose into the sky. Chapter 812 The Day the Blade Was Broken. Your mind is too dangerous. Vlad frowned. Of course he would take the words of the black-clothed man who suddenly appeared in his heart. Although this guy is unknown, he is definitely an amazing guy. Evil country. Vlad pondered. Is that the country you were referring to? Speaking of such a country, Vladian is of course the most impressive one that seems to exist, that huge country that seemed to have existed 800 years ago. So, this is the evil country this guy said. He said that he inherited the ideas of that country, and Vegapunk inherited the technology of that country. That is to say, that country is actually a free country like the Fire Dragon Kingdom that he created. And have highly developed technology. The man in black also said before that what Vegapunk has acquired is the technology of the gods. Does this mean that the evil kingdom is the country established by the gods? Although it is said that he wants to kill himself, and it seems that he has no good views on free thoughts, it must be a villain setting in the animation. There is no doubt that it is the enemy who stands on the opposite side of himself, but this guy is really interesting. Yes, as soon as it came up, it gave Vlad a big surprise, and Vlad wanted to say thank you. Of course, there is no such opportunity to thank him now. Roar. The huge beast has risen into the sky, and its body is covered with a layer of dark carapace, which has become a large beetle-like existence, and the sturdy armor on its 6 arms is particularly eye-catching. Ugly. Im's voice was cold. Dare to be side by side with me. Ong. Invisible and intangible, Im just waved his hand gently, and the invisible impact has already bombarded the huge beetle. Tisk. Vlad couldn't take his eyes off of him. He couldn't understand what this guy's ability was. He was able to fly freely in the air and release invisible shocks. No, the devil fruit has not been repeated so far. That is, the cheap artificial devil fruit made by Caesar can make repeated zone abilities. Roar. However, unexpectedly, Kaido Going's pace was stopped for a moment, but, just in an instant, it rushed into the sky with a strong impact. Evolving. I am a little surprised. It's interesting. This is the beginning of the battle between two real monsters. Dash 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 dash. Woo. His chest bulged high, then fell heavily, and a big breath gushed out from his chest. Kurozumi Orochi didn't have time to look down at his body, although he knew that blood was pouring out from above, although he knew that his body was full. It's a wound, but now it's more important than the injury. It's a battle between life and death, right? The battle has been going on until now, and both sides have been seriously injured. Whether it is dead or alive is already something that needs to be considered. Sharp. It's a wonderful feeling. The usual mild air has disappeared. All I can feel is sharpness. The extremely sharp air seemed to cut his body in half in the next instant. Kurozumi Orochi is no stranger to this kind of air, or it should be said that he enjoys this kind of air very much, and feels unusual joy in this kind of air, as if his body is about to burn. After all, this is the atmosphere that he is all too familiar with, and the atmosphere that will appear when he is fighting against the top warriors. You have completely lost consciousness in your brain, you can't realize anything, you don't care about anything, and you detonate a bomb. Bombing Wano Kuni. Let this closed-off country move towards revival. Go away. Now, it's just a matter of fighting. This is the excitement that I have never felt since I became a general. Queen. The edge of the battlefield, an extraordinarily majestic, feminine fellow with absolutely no woman, Boa Marigold said, we already dominated by the desire to kill. In front of her, the Empress turned around and said disdainfully, disgusting man. Let's go, just over there. The Queen takes the lead. With such a terrifying aura just now, the fire dragon is probably in trouble. Maybe now is the time to repay. It's so nice to meet you. Very mindless, his body jumped abruptly, avoiding the surging slash, the long knife in his hand swung abruptly, and the pitch-black slash twisted in a spiral, as if it was a spiral spear that would blast through everything. Obstructed, Kurozumi Orochi suddenly said with some emotion, it's been a long time since I felt this way. Tisk. Sakata didn't fight, and the Kikuichi character in his right hand slashed casually, and Kurozumi Orochi's slash instantly shattered. Ding! The surrounding ground cracked instantly. Kurozumi Orochi had a gap on his shoulder, and at the same time, Sakata also had a gap on his thigh. I knew Kazuki Oden was a man since I was not a general. Quote. Want to provoke me with a teacher's name? Sakata dismissed it, and the azure blue slash shot into the sky. The wise man praised by all. Kurozumi Orochi was not to be outdone. The pitch-black slash came roaring. Of course I was looking forward to it, but he disappointed me. I thought this guy who galloped on the sea could bring a little different development to this country, but no, you know. Sakata, man, the most infuriating thing is that reality and expectations are completely misaligned. I thought he was the same person as me. None of my business. Sakata got it straight. No matter what Kurozumi Orochi was for, no matter how big his dreams were, he just wanted to hack this enemy to death right now, that's all. Play the piano to the cow. Kurozumi Orochi shook his head, but I'm really glad you're standing here. Even me, I want a real fight with Kazuki Oden. It's a pity then. Sakata's expression suddenly became serious. He backhanded the autumn water in his left hand to the ground, holding the sword in both hands. It's you who lost. Huh. Kurozumi Orochi was stunned for a moment. He was obviously a swordsman of the double sword style, but now a single sword style suddenly appeared. Is this courting death? The teacher has always said that the second sword style is an evil way. Sakata raised the chrysanthemum character in his hand above his head. Although I don't want to admit it, it is true that holding a sword with both hands is stronger. Is this the final victory? Kurozumi Orochi grinned, blood hanging from the corners of his mouth. Then, goodbye. Profound truth. 8 styles Orochi. A somewhat erratic look. Kurozumi Orochi's body seemed to turn into 8 in an instant, like a shadow clone, slashing towards Sakata from different directions. Woo. Sakata let out a slow sigh of relief, and said softly, the Kazuki family has passed down the profound meaning. Baihu chaotic cherry blossoms. It seems that it is already the season of cherry blossoms. Ding. The half-truncated blade suddenly danced in the air. Today is the time when the blade breaks. Chapter 813 Final Act. Roar. The roar shocked the world, and the whole world seemed to be shaking in such an earth-shattering movement. It was an astonishingly loud voice. But a simple voice obviously can't add chips to his combat effectiveness. It's disturbing me. The voice is low, but it is full of anger, just because of being offended. I am of course is not a good-natured person. In fact, a guy who can achieve such a position, of course, is he won't be an approachable guy, and his moodiness is probably overestimating him. In front of me. Like a phantom, the body circled back and forth around the giant beetle, easily avoiding all the claws that were bombarding him, and then, his hand had already pressed directly on Kaido's stomach. Just keep your head down. Boom. Kaido was blasted directly into the sky, with amazing power. Vlad, who was watching the battle, knew very well that he was not so easy when facing Kaido. Sorrowful beast. Im's voice sounded quite arrogant, like humans despising monkeys in zoos. Although he possesses extraordinary power, he is nothing but a monkey in the end. No way. Vlad finally understands what the invisible shock that I am sent out is. If there is no misunderstanding, this kind of trick should be very common, and many people will have a hockey shock. The essence of armament hockey, it is invisible armor, so it is of course possible to achieve external impact by spreading the area of the armor. In fact, it is a further application of hockey entanglement. For example, it is like the war Taumaru that has been dead for a long time. The tricks used, the shot that directly sent people flying. But this kind of trick is really not cost-effective. Of course, the impact of hockey is not as good as the bombardment of the fist. In addition to the total amount of hockey, there is a limit. Use a little less, which one who has no heart will use it like this. This man in black, I am, whose name Vlad doesn't know, is such a careless person. Vlad frowned tightly, it's too strong. Hockey shock, which theoretically has no effect, can actually exert such power. It's not just observation hockey. This guy, armament hockey, is just as good. Dash 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 dash. Woo. The body swayed to the side, and with some effort, picked up the two scabbards from the ground, inserted both knives into the scabbards, and carefully pinned them to the waist. On the ground. The body is full of wounds, especially the 8 extremely conspicuous wounds. On the shoulders, arms, waist, chest, thighs, calves, blood gushing out like a tide. Kurozumi Orochi's last blow is really not, guys, amazingly powerful. The 8 slashes slashed almost at the same time are completely undefendable. It is almost like 8 Orochi swinging their heads at the same time, opening 8 big mouths at the same time, biting towards people, completely. There is no room to hide. Although this move is very terrifying, Sakata has been severely injured in just an instant, but, in the end, Sakata is the victor. Woo. Not far away, Kurozumi Orochi was lying on the ground, panting heavily, with a huge gap in his neck. Apart from that, there was no extra serious injury. He was completely different from Sakata, who was already like a bloody man. But, to kill, just 1 slash is enough, even if it is slashed 8 times. It doesn't make sense to kill someone. On the contrary, as long as you hit the key point, just 1 move is completely enough. I'm not reconciled. I'm not reconciled. Not at all open-minded, not heroic at all, Kurozumi Orochi said loudly, I'm not reconciled. I haven't seen. This country is prosperous. This country. Sakata sneered, didn't you destroy everything long ago? What a joke. It's funny to say that Kurozumi Orochi, who was still a cold-faced killer before, actually had a lot of tears rolling down his face. His breathing was already rapid, his chest was constantly heaving, but to no avail, the blood had spread down the trachea and into the lungs. However, there is no doubt that the broken long knife is on the ground, and this guy is still trying to stand up. What a joke. When is it? This is when it is. The country of my dreams, this is just now. Let's start. I want Wano-kuni to become prosperous and strong. As if he was taking an oath in front of the people of the whole country, the man stood up straight, raised his head, and shouted so loudly. Of course, what caught his eye was just a piece of ruins and the raging flames, and there was nothing else. Then, Sakata lay on the ground and smiled, keep dreaming. His body, he couldn't stand anymore. Kurozumi Orochi could only fall to the ground weakly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked up at the sky. I just want to make this country a better place. Never heard of a patriot who turned an entire country into ruins. Sakata said so. Hee hee. Laughter. Kurozumi Orochi didn't close his eyes in the end. Go to the kingdom of heaven, and continue to dream. The sea, there is no place for you. Click. Above Banshin, the door suddenly opened, and a pink energy body stuck its head out from inside. You won. Sakata nodded. I found something really cool. Ddraig seemed to be taking credit. Hey, let the captain know. Really? Dash 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 dash. What is it? The two people here have stopped fighting. Both Fujitora and Enel belong to the super type of observation hockey. Of course, they are very aware of what is happening in the sky in the distance. Fearful power. Enel's face was heavy. Unlike Fujitora, he could still hear voices from a distance. So, of course he heard what the man in black robe said about killing Vlad. Of course, the fighting power that I showed. He is also very clear. It's really unheard of. Admiral Fujitora on the opposite side also felt very stunned. Why did such a monster with such strength suddenly appear? I have never heard of it before. I am ashamed. The old man is also called a monster, but compared with this man, it is really dwarfed. Kaido, who was originally runaway, has cast a shadow on Fujitora's heart, and the strength he has shown is extremely amazing. To put it in a frustrating way, Fujitora thinks that he has no chance of winning against the current Kaido himself. Fortunately, Kaido's opponent is a fire dragon, which is really a good thing, but now there is a more powerful one. Whoosh! The wind whistled, and the huge black shadow was directly smashed towards this side. Be careful! Fujitora said loudly, and when he lifted the staff knife in his right hand, a purple halo filled the air, and the black shadow bullet that flew over flew out. Genius for a second to remember the address of this site. Mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 814 I am the king of the world. Tisk, such a strong sense of sight. Watching Kaido being knocked out again, Vlad looked a little emotional. This kind of scene is really super visual, isn't it? A replica of the previous battle between him and Kaido. It's just that Kaido became stronger, and then replaced Vlad himself with another stronger man in black. It was exactly the same plot development, and Vlad suddenly had some incomprehensible meaning in his heart. Next. Im's voice was very vague, and he turned his head, his eyes hidden in the darkness seemed to fall on Vlad's body. Vlad smiled, still waiting. Kaido is the worst enemy, right? Quote. I am obviously not intending to talk nonsense with Vlad, and raised his right hand towards Vlad, although the purpose of coming here this time is to kill another guy who suddenly appeared with him, namely Kaido, and then unexpectedly. The outsider met Vlad, of course, for him, Vlad was also the guy who endangered the world he built, and he killed it easily. Oh yo, it's so scary. Vlad laughed, his body was covered with a layer of white, flames spewed, his body had turned into a phantom, and flew directly in the direction Kaido flew over. It is not very rational to play against this man in black now, let's wait for Kaido boss, let's find out more about him. Quote. Hey. Silently withdrew his right hand, I chuckled, and then his body flickered like a phantom, as if something was pulling him to going, but in an instant, he appeared in the far distance. Oh. Vlad was holding a phone bug in his hand, and the expression on his face seemed to be very happy. That's not bad. D-Drake. Hey. The other end of the phone, D-Drake's proud laughter came. I discovered it by accident. Besides the stone, there's something like that. Looks like we didn't know it. Vlad smiled, there seems to be something interesting going on this island. 2 sets of CP0. No matter how you think about it, it seems a little funny. What is the government thinking? A little too interesting. Forget it, since I found such an interesting thing, then. Vlad smiled, D-Drake, don't let it go to waste, make good use of it. Just now there is a guy who can't be beaten on the island, just to give him a little surprise. Hi, Captain. D-Drake responded cheerfully. Then. Vlad whispered, before that, let's take our people away. The situation is not going according to our wishes. D-Drake, bring Sister Bray and take our people as soon as possible. Get out of here. D-Drake is full of confidence. Vlad hung up the phone and laughed twice. However, this guy is really the guy behind Tenryubito, that would be so funny. Boom. By Fujitora fell heavily on the ground, smashing a big hole in the ground. What? Such a big movement, of course, instantly attracted everyone's attention. Chaton Tokikake frowned. Be careful. Eno went to contain Fujitora. Then Katakori's opponent became Chaton Tokikake, and with a slight leap, Katakori landed in front of the brothers and sisters with a wary look on his face. It's Kaido. Boom. The huge cave on the ground suddenly burst open, and a tall monster jumped out from it. This is not far away. Momoshiki Vice Admiral froze. Kaido. Are you kidding me? Will this guy be Kaido? Like there. Nothing is the same. This guy is Kaido. Also surprised were a group of Charlotte family members. Perospero's mouth widened. Are you kidding me? I don't know how much it has become stronger. With a heavy face, Katakori said, but, there is no doubt that this guy is Kaido. The smell is very impressive. This. Perospero certainly believed in his brother. What the hell did that kid Vlad do? What did you do? Hey. Laughter suddenly came from the sky, and the white dragon man had already appeared above the sky. Just do what I should do, although I just wanted to say if I did something wrong, but thinking about it now, it seems that what I did is correct. What? Vlad. Perospero looked up. Yeah, it looks all right, brothers and sisters. Vlad smiled, then turned his head. Thank you so much, Mr. Isho. Damn. Chaton Tokikake frowned, which means they didn't hurt a single hair in the Charlotte family. They were really mocking, right? Yo, Captain. Eno greeted Yuzai, but didn't seem to care too much. God, why did you come here? Vlad was taken aback. Didn't you go after those guys? Well. Eno casually said, it's very weak, and it's solved in 3 or 2. Ha, is it? Vlad smiled, then you were lucky, you didn't meet a strong one. Huh. Eno was a little confused. What a big deal, Mr. Isho. Vlad said so. Well. Fujitora was taken aback. Your government is really generous. Vlad sighed, even that guy was sent. That guy. Fujitora didn't know what to do. Of course, no man who can become an admiral is a fool, and he immediately came back to his senses. You mean? Yes, that man in black. Vlad smiled and spread his hands. If the boss Kaido hadn't been there, I would have been killed by him. After all, that man is. Vlad started to break the news without hesitation. Hidden behind the world, the king of Tenryubito, the actual commander of the government. Oh, ha. Such a big man actually went into battle in person. The government really looks down on me too much. What? Fujitora was taken aback, apparently never expecting Vlad to say such a thing. What did you say? Equally surprised was Chaton Tokikake, the actual commander-in-chief of the government. The king of Tenryubito. Well, is Marine too. That is, all of a sudden, a black figure was already standing above the sky, and his slender body seemed to be supported by something. Trouble, have you been found? Although he said it was troublesome, his tone was actually quite relaxed. This guy. Suru Vice Admiral was taken aback. Hello, Mr. I.M. Of course, Vlad did not confirm that the man in black robe was the I.M. that Doflamingo and he talked about, but that didn't stop him from making a fuss. Why is your reputation a little low? These Marines don't know you. How can this work? You are the king of Tenryubito, the highest position in the world government, in other words. Vlad smiled. Is it the so-called, de facto king of the world? The king of Tenryubito. Fujitora murmured, the de facto commander-in-chief of the world government. What the hell is this? What's the matter? Momoshiki was equally dazed. Tenryubito is the descendant of the creator, but they do not hold power. The one who holds power is the world government composed of more than 170 allied nations, as it should be. Stupid scheme. Aim's voice was neither sad nor happy, want to alienate Marine. But it doesn't matter, because, I am indeed king of the world. Genius for a second to remember the address of this site. Mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 815 Overbearing President I am Sama. I am, the king of the world. In the sky of Wano-kuni, a guy in a black robe hovered above the sky, and declared in an understatement. As the object of his announcement, this place, on the pirate side, has 4 emperors, and Marine was 1 admiral, 2 alternate admiral, and a senior vice admiral who served as Marine's chief staff. The world government is never a dictatorial government. This is something everyone understands. Even the Gorosei, 5 elders, who are at the center of the world's rights, are actually 5 people, and there has never been a situation where one person's will dominates the world. Logically speaking, it should be like this, but when this person, this guy called I am, said something like this, even in a high position in the government, in the highest order of Marine, the government is the last the gatekeeper, Fujitora of Marine Admiral, also finally understands that the government he hopes to change seems to hide a depth that he cannot reach. The king of the world. After all, Fujitora is a Marine who became a halfway monk. Although he has been an admiral since the beginning, his identification with the government is not too deep. However, some people are different. Chaton Tokikake raised his head and asked loudly, "Who the hell are you, this guy? How dare you talk like this in front of me waiting for Marine?" Tokikake is not a serious person. This man, as Marine's highest reserve combat power, has a high reputation among the people. He is indeed a very easygoing person. However, this does not mean that this guy does not have his own views on justice. It is a matter of course. In this sea, a guy who does not have his own beliefs and a firm will like steel as garbage. Chaton Tokikake, of course not trash. The current world government and the world government that is really controlled by someone are of course different. The justice that fights for more people is of course completely different from the justice that just fights for one person. Marine is an organization that exists to protect this world, not someone's knife. The absolutely unacceptable thing is that the justice that he upholds is only dancing in someone's hands. How stupid. Over Kaido again, I am sneered. Even if it's a domestic dog, it should learn how to beg from its owner, right? Oh, is that okay? Vlad interjected with a smile. Boss, I am. Marine is you. No, it's your most loyal little brother. Marine's protection for Tenryubito has reached the point where Marine Admiral will be dispatched as soon as Tenryubito is injured. I think, even if you are so powerful, you can't directly swing the whip at them, right? You should praise the dog for doing a good job, right? Fire Dragon. The beautiful and moving Miss Momoshiki clenched her teeth. When did Marine, who upholds justice, be so degraded? You bastard. And you too, Marine's friends. Vlad grinned. How can you be so naive? I said this eldest I am was the leader of Tenryubito, and he said he was the king of the world, so you believe it, isn't it too blind? As a hero on the sea, how can you do without any judgment? Are you all little idiots who just went to sea? What the hell is this kid doing? Perospero looked a little confused, and now it was obvious that this guy named I am was too strong, and Vlad was still provoking him, along with Marine. Tisk. Enel smacked his lips in a particularly unhappy way. This feeling is really annoying. Of course Vlad was stalling for time. This guy called I am is indeed the one Doflamingo said is really too strong. Vlad never thought of having a showdown with him here. He knew it was courting death still have to do it. Vlad is not a fool. Ddrake and Bree have now started the transfer of personnel. It has to be said that these two guys are indeed big transporters together. Vlad can even open a courier company. All he needs now is time. Fortunately, his mouth cannons are quite useful, and there is no need to guess. I am is definitely not a guy who likes to wrong himself and hide his identity. He didn't appear in the sea before because he really likes hiding himself so much. I'm afraid it's just that because there is no reason to appear, right? Marine is naturally suspicious of I am, which is exactly what Vlad wants. I am is really difficult to deal with. Even Kaido is not good enough now, and more helpers are really good. Vegapunk. Of course, there are also guys who don't eat Vlad's mouth at all. The boss Kaido, who has completely lost his mind, Has no extra reaction except for the words Vegapunk. Maybe because of fear, maybe because of anger. Anyway, it's all about focusing on I am. It doesn't matter if you eat or not. Rabid dog. I am scolded. It's ugly. Ohm. Immediately raised his right hand, and the invisible fluctuations spread suddenly. With a wave of his hand, the atmosphere began to vibrate. The invisible sword that penetrated the heavens and the earth slammed straight on Kaido's body with Im's wave. Boom. Just like a fly swatter swatting a mosquito, Kaido's body was blasted directly into the ground, and a wide opening was opened directly on the ground, and it was unknown how far it extended. It's amazing enough. Vlad exclaimed, it's really the ability this time, isn't it? Not Haki's release, this time it is indeed an ability, and naturally the strange ability of the main body cannot be seen. Marines who were standing aside, don't be stunned, kill the fire dragon, his existence is a hindrance to my world. Needless to say, the tone of voice is naturally full of arrogance and arrogance. Of course, as a king, isn't it normal to order the subordinates under your command? Today is unheard of. Fujitora breathed a sigh of relief and said solemnly, is there really someone higher than the government? As the dragon said. Tsuru Vice Admiral said loudly, of course we can't really determine your identity just because of a few words. We can't tell whether you are an enemy or a friend. If you want us to obey the order, we should show evidence first. Even if he did prove his identity, Marine would not necessarily just accept that there is a dictator above the government, let alone that there is no evidence for Im's identity. That is to say, I am whispered, want to rebel against me? Be careful. Just an instant, Katakori's forehead was covered in cold sweat. It's just a house dog. Yimu waved his right hand lightly, but in an instant, the heaven and the earth had already begun to shake, and the time had come when the earth was turned upside down. Remember this book domain name. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 816 Join Forces. The world is shaking. Disaster is coming. It seems to be a terrifying force that destroys the world. Although it has already experienced hundreds of battles, and the powerhouses I have seen are unknown, but I have never seen such a crazy guy. You know, the people standing in front of him are not some cats and dogs, but 2 four emperors. Although one of them, Kai, has lost his mind, he has undoubtedly surpassed the upper limit of human beings and reached an unknown field. The strength is a well-deserved terror. Coupled with the Charlotte family and Vlad's confidant, Enel, the pirates are extremely powerful. Even if they fight with the only red-haired pirates who stay out of the way, they will definitely be crushed. At the same time, Marine's combat power is also absolutely strong. The configuration of Marine Admiral plus 2 alternate Admiral is simply luxurious. If you add the big staff crane and a group of Marine Vice Admiral, it can already be called the extravagance is also the combat power that is not afraid to fight against a 4 Emperor pirates. However, with the combination of such 2 powerful forces, there was a guy who shot at everyone without hesitation. Ah! Vlad put up a pergola with his hands to shield his eyes from the wind and sand, it's really strong. The body has been bound by an invisible force, and the majestic strength is like an armor made of iron blocks on the body, completely unable to move. Then, a twisting force like a spiral came in, and it seemed to twist everyone into an invisible force like a twist in an instant. Crack! Enel's body was twisted into lightning in an instant, turning into blue-white electric light, constantly twisting in the air, unable to even gather together. PFF'd. The same end as Enel was Chaton Tokikake, Vice Admiral on Marine's side, whose body was twisted into mud in an instant, flying around in the air. What kind of power is this? Transformed into a huge fire dragon, with outstretched wings and a body covered with pitch-black hockey, Vlad has blocked the Charlotte family brothers and sisters, the wings cover them, and even so, the sturdy scales on the body are all in it creaked as if it would shatter at any moment. It's really powerful. Vlad smiled, and there was severe pain from everywhere on his body. It was unimaginable that he could be beaten so easily. Ah! Ah. Oh. Help. Compared with Vlad, Marine's side is much more miserable. Even if Fujitora has deployed the reverse gravity shield in an instant, the invisible attack from IM is indistinguishable after all. Every moment of the blow, someone in Marine would cry out, and then be directly twisted into a blood mist. The blink of an eye, a thick blood-colored mist had already floated above the sky, and Marine had already been killed and wounded. What the hell is this? Struggling to wave the famous sword Jinpyra in his hand, Momosagi's expression is quite ugly and useless. No matter how powerful the slash is, it has no effect. Immediately afterwards, a more turbulent impact will come again. Momosagi's attack is completely useless. This is such a situation. There was cold sweat on Fujitora's forehead, not powerlessness, and certainly not fear, but simply because there was no subordinate who could protect him, that's all. Fortunately, the worst situation did not continue to happen, and the powerless and dying Marines were finally rescued. Kill you. Roaring like this, the huge beast spread its wings and soared into the sky. Kaido's thick and fleshy body was constantly shattered, and then healed in an instant. For others, the attack that seemed like a natural disaster seemed like nothing to him. It's a life force that fits your identity. IM withdrew his right hand, and the invisible power that permeated the surrounding air suddenly dissipated. Like a cockroach. Extraordinarily disgusting tone. Forget it, although I plan to clean up the ants here, but before that. IM seems to have made a somewhat difficult choice. It's not impossible to kill a cockroach first. Kaido's body swelled further, and incomparably solid scales appeared on his body. If I read it correctly, it was similar to Vlad's dragon scales. The pitch-black hotkey was attached to it, and the strength could be imagined. Humph. With a cold hum, IM stretched out his right hand, raised his index finger, and then bent his index finger VV. Roar. PFF'd. Kaido screamed, blood spurted out from behind, and a huge blood hole had appeared behind him. After all, the voice under the black robe was as dismissive as ever, it's just a beast. Roar. Of course, although Kaido lost his mind and his brain was useless at all, his body was not a vegetarian. The wound on his back had healed in an instant, and he continued to move forward as if nothing had happened. Ah! A loud roar. Behind Kaido, countless tentacles roared out instantly. The tip part was instantly covered with a layer of carapace, and it was ejected like a long spear. The speed was completely invisible, whistling, screaming, the target is IM. Huh. The mocking sneer, although I can't see what the face hidden under the black robe looks like, it must be a cheek full of ridicule and contempt. Crack. With a light snap of his fingers, the spear forest that charged towards him at an extremely high speed was bounced away without warning. Then. Could try. A sudden wave of his right hand, IM said coldly, wail and see. Dong 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 dong. As before, Kaido's body suddenly appeared one after another with huge fist marks, and his body flew in the air instantly, like a basketball. Probably have some clues. Vlad pinched his chin and muttered, but what a troublesome ability. This attitude. Thunder and lightning gathered beside Vlad. Enel said with a bit of annoyance, this guy doesn't take us seriously at all. Normal, this guy has such strength. If time is enough, it will not be difficult to destroy us. Vlad frowned. In the sky, Kaido's body, who was beaten up by IM, suddenly changed. Without warning, blood seeped out from his skin. Tisk, is it time? Hello, Fujitora Admiral. Vlad shouted in the direction of Marine, would you like to join forces? The current situation is not good, Boss Kaido can't hold it anymore, the opponent is not an ordinary monster. Issued, join forces request. Remember this book domain name. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 817 Group Battle IM. The unfortunate thing happened. In the sky, is fighting with IM, or is being beaten by IM unilaterally. Kaido time has come. The time for gene collapse has come. It was said at the very beginning that the purpose of Vlad giving Kaido an injection was not to really let him evolve, but just to break Kaido's myth, the extremely buggy recovery ability, making his evolution completely unexpected thing. But now it seems that such an unplanned evolution was a lucky mistake. Of course Vlad didn't know that the reason why appeared was because he gave Kaido an injection, and he is still thankful that he gave Kaido got a shot, or I'm afraid he'd be beaten to death by by now. Now, Kaido's body has begun to see blood and water, and there is no attack place, but there is blood flowing, and it is very abnormal blood, too thick, like. There are a lot of things dissolved in it. What Vlad noticed, of course also noticed. After all, both the endurance and the speed of dashing have dropped significantly. After all, he is not blind. A rabid dog is going to become a domestic dog. With a wave of his hand, then, just die. PFF'd. Without the slightest warning, Kaido's stomach opened a big hole directly through his chest. A scream, Kaido fell directly from the sky, and granulation began to spread from the wound on his chest, as if he wanted to heal the wound, but every time, the granulation just grew out, and immediately melted into a bloody, "It is indeed time has come." "What?" whispered, "although you have to know that you are inferior, but you are so ugly. Vegapunk, I seem to have overestimated you." Boom. Kaido's huge body fell to the ground, kicking up the dust and smashing a big hole in the ground. "How is it, Tengu Admiral?" Vlad smiled. "Boss Kaido will be finished if he sees it. We don't have much time, cooperate or not, your decision." Cut. Beside Fujitora, Chaton Tokikake snorted in disgust. "There seems to be no other choice now." Fujitora sighed and said so. "Oh." Vlad's eyes widened in surprise. "But..." Fujitora's voice suddenly straightened. "The righteous marine and the pirates fought side by side, but it's just too embarrassing." Vlad raised an eyebrow. "It means, fire dragon." Granny Crane said, "Your proposal has failed. Marine and pirate are always at opposite ends of the spectrum." Tisk. Staring at the dead fish and watching slowly descending, Vlad said unhappily, "It's too pedantic." "Well." Fujitora was holding a cane and knife in his hand, and suddenly "It's all about fighting to survive anyway." Vlad was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "It doesn't look too pedantic, it's slick." "Yes, not fighting side by side, it's just that the fight for survival happens to have the same enemy, it's that simple. That is to say, landed and floated in midair, would rather join forces with pirates than obey my orders." "Hey, I'm sorry, this anonymous little brother who doesn't know what he looks like." Chaton Tokikake laughed. "Marine is not an organization that easily bows its head." Turned his head. Crack. Chaton Tokikake shattered directly, turning into a cloud of mud flying in the air. "Oh, Logia." Im's voice was soundless, not at all surprised because Chaton Tokikake was a Logia fruit person. "Trouble. Call." The mud in the sky gathered together to form the appearance of Chaton Tokikake, with a look of surprise on his face. "What kind of ability does this guy have?" "Forget it, it's better to slaughter the hounds that bark at their masters and eat meat." Said so, and he stretched out his right hand. "Don't think you're really free if you let go of the leash." Press down lightly with your right hand. Almost at the same time, all of them felt a powerful force at the same time, roaring down like a giant dragon from top to bottom. Marine soldiers fell to their knees almost immediately, and a painful low roar came out of their mouths, mixed with the clearly audible sound of bone cracking. Followed by, behind Vlad, the brothers and sisters of the Charlotte family, almost all of them who were weaker fell to the ground. Vlad. Seeing this, Katakuri yelled. "Understood." No need for Katakuri to say more. Vlad waved his right hand, and the turbulent flames had turned into countless flame spears, bombarding directly towards in the sky. "Stupid." Dismissed it, and he didn't see any movement at all. Vlad's flame gun was directly shattered and turned into sparks in the sky. View, view, view. Almost at the same time, several D-series androids behind Vlad shot at the same time, and the flickering lasers were particularly bright. 5 million volts. Thunder Dragon. The huge thunder and lightning dragon roared away, and the target was IM in the sky. Baked rice cakes. Quote. The jet black fist shot out like a rocket. I don't know. Everyone's attack was ushered in, but it was only IM's sneer. Ohm. It was like hitting an invisible wall, whether it was a laser, lightning or a rice cake fist, all attacks were blocked by an invisible wall and shattered instantly. Cut. Vlad grunted in disgust. Hell Brigade. The pirates lost, and Marine immediately stepped up. Fujitora swung the staff and knife in his hand, and a purple halo filled the air. In the sky, IM, who was suspended in the air, suddenly felt his body sink, and he was about to fall to the ground. Gravity. IM chuckled. Huh. Fujitora was startled, then jumped up, almost at the same time. After he left the place, a huge pothole appeared in the ground. This is... Suru Vice Admiral Vivi frowned. Get out of the way. I am not looking disappointed. Hey, look here. The dazzling brilliance suddenly shone, and in the sky, a huge dragon man held a huge fireball, just like a human being holding a sun. The gift is here. With a giggling smile, Vlad waved his hand suddenly, and the huge fireball had already smashed towards IM. Useless work. IM unmoved, and with a wave of his hand, the huge fireball has actually changed its trajectory and smashed towards Marine on the ground. Gravity Knife Tiger. The roar resounded through the sky. Almost at the same time, the huge fireball disappeared in the sky. Accompanied by the slash, the purple halo blasted straight towards Yimu. Useless. Like a prophet, IM lightly moved to the side, dodging Fujitora's blow by the slightest. That is to say. Vlad narrowed his eyes. Gravity works. Fujitora gripped the handle tightly. Roar. On the ground, there is a big hole in the chest, the last explosion of the dying Kaido. Genius website address. Mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 818 Time to leave. Gravity works. All the previous attacks, including Kaido, Vlad, Enel, Katakuri, D-Android, were easily neutralized by Yimu, but, facing Fujitora's gravity knife, Yimu chose to dodge. Before the same is true of the Hell Brigade. Although it was only for a moment, it was true that IM's body was pulled down by Fujitora towards the ground. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Of course, the fact that gravity is effective does not mean that he can really defeat IM. It is just a signal that he is also a human being, not a god. That is to say, he will also lose at times. Roar. The huge figure rose into the sky, and the huge hole in the chest was particularly eye-catching, and the target was IM in the sky. Wow. Vlad smiled. That's awesome, Boss Kaido. I'm so sorry for being prejudiced against you before. I don't know how to thank you for helping so much. Not dead yet. IM turned his head sharply. The only thing that bothers me is the vitality. Crack. A light snap of fingers. Boom. The jet black fist that came at a high speed slammed into the air, followed by a purple slash, and another invisible force in the air instantly disintegrated. Huh. IM bowed his head. Beautiful, brother. Vlad gave Katakuri a thumbs up. If you're careful. Says Fujitora, it doesn't seem to be imperceptible either. Kaido, who had lost the obstacle, had rushed in front of Yimu, and his huge fist smashed directly at Yimu's body. Quote. IM was speechless and raised his right hand. Boom. Kaido's foot slammed into something and fell straight down, losing his balance, swiping his fist past IM's side. Then. Boom. The punch was not a hallucination, and IM punched, slamming Kaido's head hard. Kara. The sour sound Kaido's body fell like a meteor, and was directly smashed into the ground. The huge amount of soil and rocks splashed like water on the water, and the ground was also undulating, with waves of turbulence. It was as if the entire island was about to be destroyed. "Oh Tilda, can't you do it?" Vlad sighed. In the huge pothole, Kaido's body continued to twitch, skin and muscles had begun to crack, and the blood soon pooled into a small pond. "I don't want to play anymore." I said, "My existence can't be revealed for the time being. All rebels should die." I pointed the sky with one finger, and invisible fluctuations spread out. "What?" Fujitora was startled. "This is amazing." Captain Enel's expression was also solemn. "An incredible attack is coming." Huh. Vlad was taken aback, then, immediately, he knew what I had done. Boom. On the horizon, a series of loud noises like muffled thunder, as if the world was roaring. A white line appeared in the sky in the distance, and it was whistling towards this side at an extremely alarming speed. "Hey, is it too exaggerated?" Vlad subconsciously pulled the corners of his mouth. Is there no limit to this guy's physical strength? In the distance, on the ground, a huge shadow gradually spread, because, in the sky, the ocean flew over. Covering the sky and covering the earth is the real sea, and what covers this side is indeed the real sea. As if the heaven and the earth were repeated, I was now in the sky, and above my head was the blue sea. Was far more astonishing than the seaquake released by Whitebeard on the top. This piece of sea was moved from a distance by abruptly using his ability. I knew earlier that although this place is close to the coast, it is not the coast after all. On the edge. Return to the ruins. Im's right hand was about to fall, and the ocean was already close at hand. Fujitora Admiral. Vlad roared loudly, and his body had already whizzed out. It was not impossible. The power of the fluttering fruit in his left hand could perfectly solve this problem. This is not cooperation. Deliberately emphasize that. The ground suddenly rose, and a rock supported Fujitora to follow Vlad's footsteps and rushed towards the turbulent ocean. Like Vlad's fluffy fruit, Fujitora's gravity fruit can also handle the ocean overhead. "Piao piao fruit and I murmured, "Gravity fruit." Huh. Vlad's body instinctively jumped over. Although there was nothing in front of him, observation hockey could feel the existence of a wall. Drink. Similarly, Fujitora let out a low drink, slashing roaring out, and the invisible barrier blocking the front was directly shattered. Both of them have this kind of observation hockey. I am a little surprised. Give me. In an instant, Vlad has approached this sea, and only when he is really under it can he feel how vast this sea is. If I have to use an analogy, it is like the difference between an ant and an elephant lord. This piece of sea water is the horror that once it falls, the entire Wano-kuni can be washed over in an instant. Crack. Vlad's arm was already in the water. Don't think about it. I abruptly waved his right hand, and a huge amount of seawater fell instantly, but in an instant, the seawater almost touched Vlad's face. The old man can't do it, just stand by. Fujitora roared, and a purple halo instantly spread out. At the same time, the ability of fluttering fruit also began to work. Give me. Vlad raised his left hand vigorously, fly high. Boom. The sea water is surging, and the waves fill the sky, but the sea water in the sky has indeed stopped falling. Damn. I am very annoyed. He pressed his right hand hard, an invisible force roared out, and the seawater that had calmed down instantly dropped. Don't even think about it. Vlad said loudly, the following are his partners, his family, and his subordinates. Since he is already the captain who has carried all lives and deaths, of course, he must escort everyone. Don't try to land. The same is true for Fujitora, his colleagues below, there is really no reason to step aside. So the situation developed into a wrestling between the three of them. Sweat soon began to spread on the foreheads of Vlad and Fujitora, and the sea water even began to fall. Even if it was 1 against 2, it seemed that it was I who had the upper hand. Crack. Whoosh. Boom. Bew. Scoff. Vlad and Fujitora were working hard, and the others were of course not idle. Lightning, slashing, mud currents, rice cake fists, lasers, and several attacks mixed together and smashed them directly at IM. Go away. IM turned his head. There seemed to be two faint blue light flashes under the black robe. All the attacks changed direction in an instant and flew in the other direction. You are finished. IM continued to exert force, and the sea began to sink further. Damn. Enel gritted his teeth. Follow. Ground suddenly opened, and both Enel and the Charlotte family were swallowed in instantly. Call. In the sky, Vlad took a breath and smiled. It's finally here. Chapter 89 Impressive Kaido Boss. Vlad's purpose at the beginning was not to confront IM with hard steel. Facts have proved that even with Marine's friends, it is impossible to defeat IM. This guy can fly, really. The only ones who can fight him are Vlad, Enel, and Fujitora. They are not flexible enough, and of course, if you want to defeat this monster with the strength of himself and Enel alone, Vlad has not yet done so. Big Heart. X23 US. Com updates fastest. After all, it was so easy to pull a piece of ocean over a long distance and smash people. It was absolutely impossible to do such a thing without a certain imagination and unrivaled strength. Fortunately, now it seems that he has finally caught up, and the person who came to take him out of the battlefield has finally arrived. The transportation capacity of D-Dragon's sister Bray is indeed quite impressive. Vlad has long known about such a thing, even if the number of people is as many as hundreds of thousands, but as long as D-Drag keeps gate of opening under the ground, in fact, it won't take long, as long as people are drawn closer to the different dimension, there will be no problem, and the security problem has been solved. Then, you just need to let Bree open the mirror in D-Drag's stomach after everyone is taken away, and you can transfer to an island through the mirror space. After all, D-Drag can only open it. Different space, but unable to shorten the space distance to achieve space travel, unable to leave with everyone. So, Vlad smiled, since D-Drag has come here and took away his brothers and sisters and Enel, then of course, now there is only himself left, so there is no problem. Even in the face of this monster called Yim, Uncle Vlad is quite sure that he can escape. Mr. Isho. Vlad turned his head. Hey, the transfer work on our side has been completed, understand? Hello. Fujitora frowned. Isn't it bad to just abandon your comrades like this? Say what? Fujitora Admiral. Vlad said casually, we are just fellow travelers who have the same enemy and fight. Isn't that what you said? Hey, don't talk about comrades in arms. Haha, I was just joking before. Fujitora had the kindest smile on his face. Of course we are comrades in arms. Ha ha ha, yeah. Vlad grinned. Then, comrade in arms, the enemy has come. Run away. So many people from the Charlotte family disappeared together, and I am not blind. His observation hockey level may be the best in the world. Even if his attention is not there, it doesn't mean that he doesn't put these people aside. In his heart, he had already said that he was unwilling to reveal his identity. Damn. What happened just now was only a moment, and no one had time to react. Even Vlad himself, who had expected it, might not be able to stop such a thing, but this was indeed an insult to IM. This time. Vlad smiled, this friend seems to be completely pissed off. As evidence, the seawater that the two of them could barely withstand began to fall straight down, and the speed was extremely fast, as if the water was pouring down from the top. Yeah, it looks like it's over. Vlad exclaimed. Of course, he was talking about Marine. Mr. Vlad. The purple halo shone even more, and Fujitora roared with cold sweat on his forehead and a loud voice. Hey, well, who made this guy? Vlad smiled and raised his left hand suddenly. The falling ocean suddenly stopped. It's our common enemy. You. IM whispered. The black robe on his body was automatic without wind. Boom. A storm suddenly blew up on the ground, twisting everything, spreading in all directions with him as the center, as if the whole world would be smashed into pieces. Target was not Vlad and Fujitora, but the marine soldiers below. Tisk. Vlad breathed a sigh of relief. IM diverted his attention. The pressure on the two of them was finally a little less, and there was no need to work so hard. Drink. Fortunately, there is not only Fujitora on Marine's side. Chaton Tokikake is also a strong guy who is no different from a monster. With a low voice, the surrounding ground suddenly changed. Logia soil fruit, of course, he also awakened. Boom. In just an instant, a huge mud wall roared up and turned into a huge fortress, directly wrapping all of them in it, and in an instant the dark hockey had covered it. Kara. However, in the face of the invisible void storm, such an earthen wall does not seem to have a strong protective effect, and soon begins to twist under the action of the invisible twisting force. However, the power of Chaton Tokikake is not covered, the walls have not broken down much, more, thicker walls have spread out. Not bad. Although Vlad was admiring, he was indeed sullen, but... Be careful. Fujitora said so loudly. Boom. The huge mud fortress burst open in an instant, and it could not be breached from the outside, so it was better from the inside. Damn. Chaton Tokikake's body once again turned into mud under the twisting force. In the sky behind, Momoshige and a group of Marine's vice admirals have already flown into the sky, almost blood on the corners of their mouths. They are not like Chaton after all. Tokikake Logia's ability, in a sudden, unpredictable attack, it is natural to be injured by a surprise attack. As for the other unfortunate marine soldiers, there was no room to hide in the confined space, and they were almost completely wiped out. The vitality of a cockroach. I am not satisfied, there are still people alive. This is what he is most dissatisfied with. He raised his right hand. Stop. Fujitora's eyes were split. Roar. With a loud roar, Vlad thought he was done, but the boss Kaido, who was lying on the ground and waiting for him to turn into blood, rushed to the sky again, and he could hardly see the previous appearance, and one leg had disappeared. No, there is almost no internal organs in a big hole in the chest, half of the head has melted, the left hand has also disappeared, only the right hand is still clenching the fist. No way. I am subconsciously blurted out. Even he had to be sincerely surprised when he saw the current situation. What happened to this guy? This situation is not dead yet. Really? Also surprised was Vlad. Boss Kaido. Are you trying to impress me? What kind of spirit is this? It is necessary to assist Vlad between life and death. Perhaps, this is the so-called spirit of internationalism, right? Then. Im's raised right hand turned towards Kaido and waved it down. Fujitora Admiral, what do you say? Vlad turned his head. Quote. After a brief silence, Fujitora decided, Mr. Vlad, please help us. Hey. Vlad Isho, then. Chapter 820 Boom. D-Drag. Vlad said so loudly. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Hi. Although he didn't hear such a high-spirited answer, Vlad knew that in the green alien space, his right-hand partner must have answered like this. Keeping this group of Marines alive is better than letting them be killed by IM. You don't even have to think about such a thing. A fool knows that for the sea, it is a group of pirates like the Fire Dragon Pirates. Is it more credible, or are the words of Admiral at the top of Marine who compliment Marine's chief staff more credible? Everyone is more inclined to Marine, right? Even now that the Fire Dragon Pirates have defeated the Beast Pirates, if the news spreads, I am afraid they will be taken for granted as the best candidate for the new One Piece, King of Pirates, but in terms of the credibility of the speech, for the inhabitants of the sea, of course, Marine is coming higher. Vlad wanted Marine to pass on IM's news, so that more people would know that a world government that advocates non-dictatorship and takes democracy as its basic concept still has a supreme emperor. Isn't this too interesting? Not to mention, the attitude of these Marines towards IM to a large extent represents the attitude of all Marines towards IM. Vlad is looking forward to what will happen when the Marine led by Fujitora returns to the Marine headquarters. It is for such an interesting development that Vlad naturally wants to take all Fujitora and his party away. This time. On the other side, Im's voice was very serious, destroy you completely. Cheers. Rabid dog, I'm going to take you seriously. It was completely invisible to the naked eye, the invisible fluctuations had spread out, and Kaido's body was completely stopped, as if it was pinched by an invisible big hand. Karara. A very sour sound, Kaido's body began to twist. With the gradual deepening of the genetic breakdown, his body was not as strong as before, and blood rushed out like he didn't want money. Click. At this time, the huge door suddenly opened on the ground, and the still alive vice admirals of the Marine headquarters fell into another dimension instantly. Replaying old tricks. I am very disdainful, stupid. It was as if an invisible wall suddenly appeared on the big hole in the ground, directly blocking the passage for Chaton Tokikake and others to fall. At the same time, the wall instantly turned into a deadly blade, directly sweeping away, cut toward the crowd. The current Kaido doesn't need him to go all out, so even if he is wrestling with Vlad Fujitora while suppressing Kaido, on the other hand, he can still use the extra power to stop Chaton Tokikake and others from escaping, whether it is both mental strength and physical strength are exceptionally strong, and the three-line operation can still suppress the three parties at the same time. Roar. It seemed that he was very angry at the encounter that he was directly caught. Kaido broke out, and the power from not only poured into the whole body, and the invisible barrier that bound him was directly shattered. Without the slightest hesitation, only one leg was left heavy. As soon as he stepped on, his body shot out, fist, huge fist, blue veins burst out on the arm, and the blow that was ready to be launched was about to hit Yinu's body. Kaido. Vlad looked a little emotional, this is indeed the end. Useless. I am stretched out his right hand. Boom. Kaido's fist slammed heavily against an invisible wall, with a loud, clearly audible sound, followed by a gust of wind. Well. I am surprised. Kara. The invisible barrier shattered in an instant, and the fist would hit his face in the next instant. Drink. With a low growl, Vlad suddenly felt a lot less pressure, and I am finally focused more on Kaido. Boom. Two fists slammed together, Im's tiny fist and Kaido's huge fist. Thunder exploded in the sky, as if a meteorite fell to the ground. The wind howled, and the white clouds dissipated. Great opportunity. Such a voice came from the hollow in the ground. Whoosh. The fist made of butter was covered with a powerful haki, and it blasted straight out of the different space, hitting the transparent barrier in front of it. Karara. Although it can't be seen, something is definitely shattered. Please, everyone. With such a smile, the butter fist melted suddenly, turned into an arm, and directly grabbed the Marine's group in the air, pulling them all into the different space, and then the door closed abruptly. Of course, such a smooth operation was based on the sacrifice of the great comrade Kaido. PFF'd. The only remaining arm exploded into a blood mist. A small part of Im's attack was quite strong, and most of it was due to the smooth progress of Gene Crash. This time, Im must be very angry, and another group of people successfully ran away. Since he is angry, it is natural to find someone who can let him get angry, right? Roar. A feeble roar came out of Kaido's mouth, and his body couldn't move again. Go to hell. Im said so. Puff 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 puff. Kaido's body like a violent storm, every punch will bring a blood mist, and the shock wave caused by it does not know how far it extends. Kaido's body as in it quickly became smaller, crippled little by little, and disappeared little by little. That's the case. Im finally raised his fist, and in front, Kaido had the last half of his head left, and of course he had lost his life. Is it really over? PFF'd. The victory or defeat is 1 point. The world's strongest creature, Kaido of the Beasts, finally realized his lifelong long-cherished wish and died in a dignified battle. It's over. Vlad didn't laugh anymore, and flew to Fujitori's side with a sigh. The boss of such a strong Kaido is still dead. It stands to reason that I should be happy when the pirates die, says Fujitori, but, well, forget it. Vlad smiled and waved his left hand abruptly in Iam's direction. Now let's go. It makes sense. Fujitori also pressed a knife. Boom. Before he could say anything ruthless, a large shadow had already covered Yimu, and the boundless seawater had already smashed towards him. The attack that was originally used to deal with the enemy has now become a tool for the enemy. Hee hee. Vlad smiled. The mask of the ocean was too wide. Even if it was an attack that smashed towards Im, he and Fujitori were still within the coverage. Of course, this area was controlled by him with the ability of fluttering fruit. Of course, the seawater was not a threat to him, and a huge hole suddenly appeared, just accommodating him and Fujitori. The other side. Huh. Sneering, Im didn't care. Just when the huge amount of seawater was about to hit him on the head, a huge pothole suddenly appeared on the seawater, just for him to pass. Tisk. Across the sea, although the other party could no longer be seen, observation Haki could still feel the presence of Im. Vlad sighed. Is it really useless? Forget it, let's go. Fujitori Admiral. Vlad smiled. There's no need to stay any longer. Where do you want to go? The sea suddenly stopped falling, and Vlad seemed to be suspended in the sea, with a huge hole in the middle. With such a voice, the guy named Im had broken through the seawater and rushed into the void where Vlad and the two were, and an invisible force had already crushed them towards them. Hey! Vlad smiled and was not afraid at all. Behind him, a door had been opened. Flames spewed from Vlad's body. He grabbed Fujitori's body and sprayed it directly towards the door behind him. Stop. Im must be furious, right? It's been 2 waves in a row, but one can't be 2 or 3, right? Ohm. Invisible power spreads out. There will be no redundant guys. He is going all out. In all directions, Vlad immediately discovered that there were invisible forces rolling towards this side in all directions, as if to crush him directly into pieces, instantly squeezing Vlad's moving space to a very small point, let alone retreating into the back door. Ha! Vlad grinned, and his body suddenly swelled, in the form of a giant dragon. The body that swelled in an instant was covered with pitch-black Haki, which directly bounced off all the strange attacks around him. Of course, as a price, Vlad's body instantly had several wounds. The body has already touched the door in front of him. Damn! Im scolded, officially because he was able to foresee the future, so he knew that he could not stop it, and the surging invisible force surged out, but after all, it was still a step too late. Click. With a soft click, the door was completely closed, and only Yim remained in place. Quote. Silently, Im floated quietly in the sky, without manipulating the seawater in the sky. Let this piece of ocean fall, sweeping the entire Wano-kuni. Yeah. Suddenly, the guy raised his head abruptly. In the sky, a door suddenly opened. Damn. Im scolded. Sometimes predicting the future of observation Haki is not all good things. Knowing but can't change it, and not knowing and then simply being a neat move are of course 2 concepts. Whoosh. A huge bottle was thrown out of the door, and the door closed instantly. Don't think about it. The invisible force quickly covered the bottle, and at the same time, Lord Im also began to fly rapidly into the sky. But, unfortunately, the flame attached to the bottle suddenly contracted and exploded. It's not too powerful, but it's no problem to blow up the bottle. Then, the contents of the bottle finally come into contact with the air. Boom. Quote.